But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn.
Good afternoon and welcome to NUFC Matters. It is match day live. Newcastle United are taking on Arsenal in the Premier League today at St James's Park. It is a 2 o'clock kickoff, and Newcastle all but safe now after Fulham lost again yesterday against Chelsea. A win today would secure Newcastle United's place mathematically in the Premier League, more or less. So good to have the match day team panel on. I'm joined by Holly, by Spenny, by Chris Hall, by Charlie, by Martin, by Kieran and Paul. And today we have Al Walid, who is going to sit in the hot seat. Al Walid, over to you, sir. You're in control. Enjoy it. Good luck.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أهلا بكم في برنامج شؤون نيوكاسلية مع الإعلامي ستيف ريث. مباراة اليوم مباراة نيوكاسل وأرسنال. طبعا you have to get used to the sound before the takeover, of course. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Match Day Live with Steve Wraith in NUFC Matters. I am Al Walid from Saudi Arabia, apparently from Starbucks branch somewhere. I will be hosting this Match Day Live, Newcastle versus Arsenal. Joining in this lovely afternoon, this canny panel, Paul, Kieran, Martin, Charlie, Chris, Hall, Spinny Mag, and Holly. And the boss, of course, Steve Wraith. All right, let's start for our sponsors, or no?
Yep,
sponsors first?
No problem, sure, go for it.
Yeah. Spider VPN, of course, for quick and good internet, and some kitchen company, Arcade Interiors.
Good stuff.
All right.
Don't forget the main guys as well.
Of course. Sorry, John. Yeah, of course. Q-Tech Shop from John, of course. And last but least, Jab Signatures for the clothes for the show as well. All right. Now the lineup. What do you think, guys, of this lineup? I think we are gonna playing for a win. Dubravka on goal, Matt Ritchie, Paul Dummett, Clark, Fernandez, and Murphy in the defense. Defense midfielder, Sean Staff, Shelby, Almayroun. And for our center forward, I think today, 2 center forward. We are lucky for that. Saint-Maximin and Wilson. For Arsenal, they playing 4-2-3-1. Xhaka left back, which is strange. Gabriel, David Luiz, Bellerin, Ryan in goal. Ceballos, El-Nini in defense midfield. Odegaard, Willian, Martinelli in the middle field, and Aubameyang as center forward. Substitution for Newcastle: Galipsy, Matthew Longstaff, Sharp, Joelinton, Gale, Lewis, Hendrick, Kraft, Anderson. For Arsenal, Leno, Saka, Cedric, Barty, Thomas Barty, Pepe, Chambers, Mari, Nikita, Smith, and Rowe. All right, let's. How you see the lineup, and what do you think Steve Bruce's goal for today? Is he playing for a win or for a draw? Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest. I'm quite happy with the team. I think I don't think he could change it a great deal. I think a lot of us were hoping that Wilson would be back in the starting lineup. He's looked fit and he's ready to take on these last few games of the season. And yeah, I think that's a strong 11. I think that obviously Dubravka has proved his point in goal. He is our number one. Remember, 26 weeks ago, we were all talking about whether he should be in or whether Darlow should keep his place. I think the defensive looked at times shaky, but they've got us through the last few fixtures, and the fixtures haven't been, easy. None of the fixtures looked easy a few months ago. So you look at that and you think, yeah, my concern was Ritchie was going to be injured. Obviously, talk of a calf injury and that he would be in a position where he wouldn't be able to start today. But he's in the team, which is great. As you know, I'm not a Shelvey fan, but Shelvey is in there. Newcastle have done well with that midfield pairing, Shelvey and Longstaff. It's not the most attractive, it's not the quickest, but yeah, look, I think that team could win today. I think on the bench, we've talked about it before we came on air. Paul pointed out to me there, obviously no Andy Carroll. Is he injured? Is he surplus to requirement now? Joe Linton has moved from obviously the starting lineup onto the bench. So, Joe Linton now is worth more on the bench than Andy Carroll. That's what that tells me. But yeah, we've got players on the bench who can change it. Matty Longstaff, great to see Fabian Shaw back on the subs bench after he's run out in the reserves earlier this week. Joe Linton, probably a lot would say hasn't done a great deal wrong in the last few weeks. And then we've got Gale, Lewis, Hendrick, Kraft, and Anderson. Look, there's plenty backup. There's plenty players there that can come on and change the game. And I think the key to this is that Arsenal essentially will be looking at their next, leg of their European semi-final. This will be on their mind. Nobody will want to get injured. Nobody will want to get sent off. Everybody will be, hoping that they're going to be selected and get a chance to play if they progress in a final. So this Arsenal team, I think, will have their minds on other things. Martin pointed out before we came on the Smith Rowe's on the bench. He's a great player. So is Saka. They're two game changers for us in this team. Aubameyang seems to be struggling for form this season. He came on as a sub midweek. So he's going to be their biggest threat. But look, they've got players that can win this game comfortably. But I think, as form goes, this has got a lot. This has got a lot for Newcastle. A lot of positives for Newcastle. Me personally, I think we've got a real chance of beating the Gunners today.
Great stuff, Paul. What do you think? Are we going to play for win or for a draw with this lineup?
I think we're going for the win today. To be honest, good lineup, really good lineup, strong for a long time. I think Maximan will run riot today against these. I really think he'll cause problems. And the bench looks strong as well. Strong bench. So I think we'll go for the win. I think we'll win today. 2-1 and 1-4.
Yeah, we'll go through the expectation later. Kieran.
Yeah, for me, I think we'll be going for the win. I watched them in the week against Villarreal, and they're awful defensively, especially, I don't know if any of you've seen it, Rob Holding. My God, we almost tried to sign him, and I don't know why, because he was terrible. So I think they'll be looking at that and thinking, target him. We'll get plenty of chances today. Not just them, the whole defence. I don't rate Xhaka at left back either. So I'm pretty sure they'll be looking at that as well.
Chris, welcome. You missed us in the beginning. What do you think of this lineup? If you catch it.
Yeah, I mean it's a strong lineup. It's a good up front. Glad to see Wilson getting the start. That he's healthy enough to go for us. This is the points here are on offer, and we've got to take those chances. This is a great situation for us with Arsenal being in between Europa League matches, and we've really got to seize it from the beginning. We've talked in the past about the importance of getting the first goal. Newcastle really plays differently on the front foot versus having to play from behind. So hopefully we come out, seize the initiative early, be on the attack, and grab that first goal. And I'm pretty positive about this, despite our ongoing issues with Shelvey. And I would like to see Matty Longstaff in there, but it's just the way that Steve Bruce is going to play the lineup here.
Saint Maximin and Wilson. as a starter. Are you happy, Martin?
Yeah, absolutely. I think last few games, I think Joe Linton's been okay. He's served a purpose. You know, at least he's been trying and putting a bit more effort in than we've had most of the season. So I think it's great to see Wilson start. Thought he was unlucky last week with the goal that was disallowed. So I think as the front two, I think that from Arsenal's back four, they're there to be got at. I thought they were really poor on Thursday night. So I think they're there to be got at. I think probably with the Tobias and El Neni in front of them, I think, you know, we've probably got enough to match them in midfield with Shelvey and Longstaff. But I think that front, with Murphy and Richie and Almiron running and the front two of ASM and Wilson, I think we've got plenty there to trouble Arsenal today. I know we had Keith Roll on doing a bit of stats on Friday night on Loaded Mag, and we've not got a great record against Arsenal of recent, and obviously the last two we've had this season, we've not done well. But I fancy us today, and I think we've got enough to cause some problems. So yeah, happy enough with the lineup.
Spinny Mag, are you happy with the lineup?
Every time.
Mute?
Every time.
Spinny touch.
I'm having trouble with your connection at the moment.
Yeah. I might not come on very often, but at least my microphone works, lad.
Oh, man. Looks like a leprechaun with a hat on.
A bit of advertising, lads. Just a bit of advertising. Mate.
It's all about the advertising. Anyway, like I said, I think I'd rather have had Matty in with Sean, like in the middle. It's more of a midfield bench for me, because the last few weeks it's been a forward bench. There's a lot of forwards on the bench. Now it's changed the midfielders. Matty or Elliot Anderson to come on for me, hopefully. But I'm happy with that team, and I can see us getting a result today.
Great. Charlie, what do you think of this lineup? Are we going to play for... Steve Bruce, do you think he play for a win or for a draw today with this lineup?
Well, first of all, I'm buzzing to be back on the show. Chaz having us on. I'm starting to feel like part of the furniture now. I think this is the third time I've been on. I've had a nice shave and everything just for the show. I've got rid of the beard, so I'm hoping for 3 points today. But no, I'll never. I just need the head to match Penny. No,
next time maybe the hair.
I remember Steve last week said before the Liverpool game, spoke about how it wasn't like the Liverpool of old. It's not the Liverpool that we used to. Well, this definitely isn't the Arsenal of old. I mean, if you look at the lineup, this is more or less our full strength team, and this is Arsenal's sort of weakened side, and so they're more or less equal, really. Take Aubameyang out there side, he's the danger man, and then other than that, it's a pretty average Arsenal team. It's definitely the worst Arsenal side in my lifetime. I think the game's there for the taking the day, and we've got goals on the side. One thing we've been with injuries this season, when we didn't have Almiron, St. Maximin and Wilson, was goals. But now we've got all three starting again. And I fancy it. I fancy it to get a result. It's good to see Fabian Schär back on the bench as well. I think he's the most talented centre-half when he's firing. So I'd like to see him get some minutes today.
Chris Hall.
Hi, Al Leeds. Yeah, do you know what, mate? I'm delighted with the lineup. I'm not going to lie. I agree with Charlie. It's arguably probably our strongest 11. Really pleased to see Matty on the bench as well as Shah, who's obviously now fit to play, which is great. Elliot Anderson being on the bench as well is a big plus. But I want to focus on this Arsenal team, because I knew they were going to play a weakened side, because obviously they've got a big game coming up midweek to try and get into that Europa League final. But yeah, I completely agree with what Charlie's just said. Like they are a real weakened side, and I noticed live score. I've got Xhaka at left back, which I hope is the case, because if Xhaka's at left back, you would hope that Murphy and possibly St. Maximin, if he's on the right up top, will have a field day against Granit Xhaka, who's always good for the yellow card. So I'm hoping that is the case. I'm also pleased to see that this Arsenal team, normally with their strongest 11 out, are very inexperienced, but they've got a lot of legs. With the likes of Saka and Nketiah and Smith Rowe, and they're all on the bench. And I feel in really strange times, because this is now. Last week we played Liverpool, really fancied us to get something, and we got a point, and really you could argue we could have got the win. And now going into this Arsenal game, like I'm far more confident in this Arsenal game than I was even against West Ham, which is strange to say. Like normally when we come up against Arsenal, and obviously earlier on in the season, we've played Arsenal twice, haven't we, in the Cup and also in the league. And, you know, I was a little bit nervous going into those games, but this one, I'd be very, very disappointed if we don't get at least a point. And I don't see why we can't go on and win.
We're going to talk about Arsenal in details later. Last but not least, Holly, what do you think? Are you afraid from the game tonight?
I think we're definitely going for the win. I think that's the strongest lineup that we could have possibly put out. Besides Shelvey, but you know by now that he's not going to get dropped. I mean, we're just repeating ourselves week in, week out, so it's obvious that he's going to be a part of that team. I would have liked to have seen Matty starting instead, but I am happy that he's on the bench, so we do have the chance to bring him on if we want to. Then also, obviously, Elliot Anderson on the bench is a big plus because that's another player that I would like to see given a chance. And then Shaw, that's positive because like it was said before, I think that Shaw on his day is one of the best centre-backs that we'll have in this side. Yeah. And going forward, obviously, we've got Callum Wilson. That's brilliant. He can score goals. He's a massive threat. That Arsenal side as well is a very weak inside. I think their biggest threat is Aubameyang. So as long as we're keeping an eye on him, I think we should be fine. Obviously, it is a plus that Lacazette's out, and I don't think they're going to be prioritising this game. They will be prioritising their game on Thursday in the Europa League. So I think that we need the points a lot more because if we get the 3 points today, then I think we'll only need one more point after our last 4 remaining fixtures to guarantee mathematical safety, which is really, really good.
Very great. Before we get into expectation, just a bit of history regarding the game between Arsenal and Newcastle. They play, of course, hundreds of times. Newcastle win 67 game win with Newcastle all competitions. Draw 38 and lose 81. In the Millennium, we win only 5 times: 2000, 2001, 2005, 2010, and 2018. So for expectation, do you think we are gonna? What do you think the score, Steve? And do you think we are going to take the 6th win in this Millennium?
You know what? I've been confident about this all week. I've just got to agree with what Charlie says about this not being the Arsenal team of maybe 10 years ago. You look at it and they're on the decline. I mean, look where they are in the league table. This isn't like a bad start to the season and then they're climbing back up and getting to the Champions League places. I mean, laughably as well, this is one of the top 6 apparently. It's nowhere near the top 6. This team. They brought an inexperienced manager in, somebody who's a good coach. Arteta, I'm sure he'll do well as he progresses, but I think they're there for the taking, and I think we'll win. I think we'll win this game. I think it'll be tight at first, but I think Newcastle owe them for the defeat at the Emirates and for the FA Cup exit. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Newcastle, I believe.
2-1, but remember on the show, I think you I'm not really sure, but I think you expect a draw. But maybe that's 3 weeks.
I did, but like that comment that's just come up there, it's amazing. Like John Brown says, it's amazing what 8 games can do. 99% of our fans and the panel said we were 100% nailed on for relegation. If Bruce doesn't go now, we're expecting to beat Arsenal. That's a rise in expectations. I mean, I could probably do the show again now, predict the next 5 results with you, Al Walid. And I'd probably give you a whole completely different set of results. But yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. You would never have expected it at all. And the credit goes to Steve Bruce and the players because they've turned it around.
Cool. Paul, result expectation?
I think we'll win today, 2-1. Like I said before. When I look at the Arsenal team, I remember people like Bergkamp and Henry's and that like that, and they haven't got any world-class players like them anymore. Arsenal used to be like lined up with like world-class starting 11, but now when you look at that team, it's just like it's not the greatest for me. Like it's poor for an Arsenal side. I just think we'll if we score first, we'll go on to win comfortably, probably 2-1, 3-1. But Kieran, for me now, we're already safe.
Yeah.
We're safe. Yeah. Are you optimistic today, Kieran?
I I do think we'll get a draw today because I don't rate Arsenal.
So optimistic then.
Yeah, a little bit. I do think Aubameyang will score because he's already threat. I mean, nobody's really talked about William. He's been a massive flop, hasn't he? They paid. I know they got him on a free, but he's just not been the same player since he was at Chelsea. I don't know what that's about, but I mean, you thought when they signed him, they're gonna do well, and they obviously haven't, have they? So,
Chris,
These legs have gone, Kieran.
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Chris?
I'm optimistic about this game. Like I said in my first comments, we got to score the first goal, and then I like our chances scoring first and holding them. Yes, Aubameyang is always the danger man, and he's been, more on form recently than he was sort of last season and earlier this season. So if we can contain him, then I think things are looking pretty good for Newcastle. I would go for a 2-1 win.
Martin?
Yeah, I think Arsenal are there to get up. So I'll go 2-0 Shelby to score.
All right. Charlie?
Alois, did you say that we'd only won 6 times since the millennium? Did you say 2018? 2018 we won.
Yeah, last win, yeah.
I was actually working outside the ground that day. Do you know, like the traffic management blocking the roads off from the stadium for the match day? And I managed to sneak in for the last 20 minutes of that game when we beat them 2-1 in 2018. And it was a lovely day like this. It was like a sort of nice spring day. So I'm just wondering, is history going to repeat itself? I'm thinking 2-1 as well.
That's cool. Chris, how?
Spenny.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
I'm trying to talk to Ben around.
Yeah.
Couldn't get a reception downstairs, could I? 2-0. 2-0 to Newcastle. Right?
All right, okay.
I think Castle's looking like thinking about the Europa League game on Thursday. The top scorer is not even on the bench, and they've dropped a lot of players.
Are you on the beers?
I think it's going to be an easy win for us. Right, we're back in 5 minutes.
All right. Okay, take your time. Chris, how?
Yeah, sorry. I'm going to blame Spenny for that, actually, that mute, because I'll just say the Spenny did it for me. Yeah, I was toying with 2-1, but I think I'm going to go 2-0 because I famous last words, but I just don't see this Arsenal side scoring. So I'm going to say 2-0, especially against our back 5. So yeah, 2-0, I'll say.
Holly?
I think it'll be 1-0 to us. I don't think there'll be many goals in the game, but I don't think that Arsenal will be given the chance to score because I'm hoping that we're really defensively solid today.
For me, I expect, I hope for a win, but I expect a draw because why? Because I notice, I think Steve Bruce always play this way because he feels that the players can't hold the result. I believe we're going to score, but I think we're going to concede a draw. This is just expectation because usually Newcastle, it's very hard for them to hold the score because most of our times, most of the games, the whole season, we play for a draw for first half or first 60 minutes, and we try to at least draw or score a win for the last 20 minutes. But apparently he started with the big guns today, Wilson, St. Maximin. So he definitely play for a win. And let's hope Arsenal, they will maybe give them overthinking for the game against Villarreal in Europe League. About 4 minutes to start the game. Let's take a chance. I really would like, from your expertise, I would like to know Arsenal. They have good coach, Arteta. They play FA. They won FA last season and did massive games against Manchester United and Manchester City, I believe. They have great players. and even now, even in the bench, we have Saka and Thomas Partey. They are great players. What do you think? We speak too much the whole season. What's wrong about Newcastle? Today, let's just say what's wrong with Arsenal. What's the reason of that?
I think they've just had a steady decline over the like. I know that they don't really rate the owner and everything, but it's almost like they were wanting Arsene Wenger out for the past few years of when he was in charge. But like it sort of looked right at the time, but now with like hindsight, it's like was Arsene Wenger sort of keeping them afloat? You know, did he not just sort of delay the decline in a way? Because since he's left, they've went from just outside of Europe. They're like, where they're the 10th, I think the 10th in the league. Yeah. And, you know, like when Arsene Wenger was there, he was having to sell Fabregas. He was having to sell Henry. A few years later, it was Van Persie. He was always having to sort of sell his players and sort of reshuffle the pack. And still, he would still get them in the Champions League. Whereas now they've got a sort of unproven coach in Arteta. They tried Unai Emery. I don't know. They're in a bit of a steady decline and they need a rebuilding job. I'm interested to see Martinelli starting today. Now, Arsenal fans are always ringing into TalkSport and they sort of have high expectations of this Martinelli kid, but he hasn't really had much of a look in. So I think if anyone's going to be the surprise danger man, it might be him.
For Emery, I read the statement yesterday. He advised Arsenal to hold on Arteta. In a few words, what do you think, Steve, happened? What's few words? What's the wrong with Arsenal at the moment?
For me, I think it's just simply down to Arsene Wenger being there for so long, and any manager coming in is going to struggle. You know, he had such a fantastic run of success. I mean, the Invincibles, FA Cup wins, League Cup wins, European journeys. I mean, it was an Arsenal team which was built on that infamous back four as well, you know, who spent most of the time standing with their hand up appealing for the offsides. But yeah, I mean, look, it was a great era for them. It was a great era for Manchester United, and both of them have suffered in their own ways by getting rid of long-term managers. And it is difficult. I mean, we had a similar situation with Keegan. When you have a big name who then leaves, it doesn't necessarily mean that another name that comes in who's got a big name is going to succeed. And Kenny Dalglish really should have come in. The job should have been very easy for for Dalglish to take over Kevin Keegan. He should have come in. He should have been able to make a couple of minor alterations, and he should have hit the ground running. As it was, Newcastle United were struggling financially. They had to sell Les Ferdinand. As they were in the middle of selling Les Ferdinand, Alan Shearer got injured at Goodison Park, and we ended up in a position where Ferdinand wouldn't turn the deal down, and we ended up losing the two guys who'd scored 50-plus goals for us the previous season and replacing them with John Dahl Thomason, who went on to win a Champions League, but ultimately was given the job as a centre-forward and ultimately wasn't up to the job. He was never a centre-forward. He always played behind a forward or played in the number 10 role. So, look, that's the problem you've got, Al-Walid. You know, you have a situation where it doesn't always follow that the next man is going to be as good as the previous manager, and unfortunately that's what's happened to Arsenal. They're in a transitional stage, and I think it was Charlie just made the point about the owner. They're not happy with their owner, but like I think most Newcastle fans have said when they've had arguments with Arsenal fans on Twitter, you know, try swapping our owner for your owner. You know what I mean? And I have Mike Ashley all day, I think, but that's what it's down to in my opinion anyway.
We've been joined by Barbara Windsor by the look of it.
I've gone to Mets. I've been gone that long.
You've got to worry about somebody who has a selection of wigs at his home, like.
I'm in my daughter's bedroom, so all I can say.
I would say that
the game. Sorry,
Petri was well, right?
Go ahead. I was going to say that if you look at the decline, it starts when they moved from Highbury to the Emirates Stadium. They were massively in debt for that. They had to sell a star player every year. So the decline of Arsenal has to do with the finances of over leveraging themselves, moving into a new stadium, which they're still trying to pay off.
Now the game is 1 minute, I think. Usually this is my problem. I am behind, so we'll know if the score. We'll know from you guys if Newcastle scores. Steve Bruce looks blue today. Now, okay, Paul, what do you think of Arsenal? In a few words, your opinion.
I just think, like, obviously, with Wenger going, they've never been able to unearth like talent what he used to be able to do. Obviously, like you had like Manuel Petit, where he used to sign people like that. Like you forget about players like them. They used to always seem to like unearth gems every year. It's like bad recruitment now from them. Obviously, they paid 70 million for that Pepe, who he's probably their answer to Joe Linton. Really, he's fast, and that's about it from him. Not very good. But at the end of the day, they still win trophies, though, don't they? And they're probably going to be in a UEFA Cup final. So we'd have that any day of the week at Newcastle.
All right.
It's almost like the Premier League Hall of Fame derby, the day, isn't it? With Shearer and Henry getting inducted this week.
Oh, good. Yeah, there's been a massive argument about that, hasn't there? Bloody Man United fans just jealous, and none of their players got on it.
I think Giggsy would have been in, wouldn't he? But he's obviously going through a bit league stuff for the minute, isn't he? Ryan Giggs.
First threat from Aubameyang, it went off.
I think I mentioned on Friday night on the Loaded program, where I've got the highest figures ever, that Arsenal's got a big stadium, they're a good team, but they haven't got the money to spend, are they? They're holding that money back all the time. They're a big team. They were the biggest team in London, but Chelsea's overtook them now.
What you call it, though, they have wasted a lot of money recently. That Pepe, I think they paid 70 million for him. I know they've signed Partey in the summer for big money, didn't they? So it's almost like, I just think they're just being badly mismanaged as a club, I think. The stadium's paid off now, I think, isn't it? I think they've paid the stadium off.
Yeah.
Should be with the price of tickets. I went to the first away game, it was 90 quid a ticket. Away to the Arsenal, Newcastle.
Scandalous, man. Scandalous.
My mate pays about 800 quid a year. Season ticket. He's got the cheapest.
I think it says it all. It's paid 70 million quid for Pepe, isn't it? It just says it all.
Yeah.
Just waste money.
Wilson first started today, I think, from long time. I think first time he started starting the lineup. He is still with 10 goals. Do you think he will gonna score today? Chris Hall?
I'd hope so. Yeah, I do fancy Wilson, to get a goal, and I think Bruce hasn't got the best record, has he, in terms of managing players' returns from injury. But I think he's got it spot on with Callum Wilson. I mean, there was a temptation to start him against Liverpool last week, and we didn't. And I think it was the right decision. He slowly brought him back into the team, and today I feel like he is ready to start, and he'll fancy that today, coming up against that Arsenal defence. He's got to fancy it, and I mentioned it in the chat, I will lead. Having Xhaka left back, we've got to really go at Granit Xhaka. David Luiz has got a mistake in him. I like Gabriel. I think he looks a decent defender, but again, when you're next to David Luiz, that's always going to be an issue. And I know they've got Bellerin at right back, who's got a bit of pace. He's just breaking now, actually, down the right. He's put a ball in. Oh, Aubameyang's missed. El Neni.
Arsenal.
1-0.
Oh,
El
Neni scored first goal.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
awful.
It was easy goal by
too easy.
Shot out the box, and
this is the problem now, isn't it? Complacent.
We were, I think, too confident with this five defense at the back. It was easily crossed by Bellerin.
Shelby just
missed it, and then
look at Shelby.
Nowhere near him. Nowhere near him.
I think this is first goal for Elneny since very, very, very long time.
Yeah, nowhere near him.
Dubravka should have done better there as well.
It was a good finish.
It's a good finish, but look at the keeper's positioning though, Chris. Look. He gets a hand to it.
Yeah. It was a weak hand, wasn't it?
The broker does do that a lot, doesn't he?
Normal service is resumed.
Steve, what do you think of this goal?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a sloppy goal, and every goal, that I tend to watch with Newcastle involves John Joe Shelvey jogging back. This is why he is a liability in the team, but it's nothing new. It's nothing that we didn't realise. Look, is it a case of the flip flops are off after Arsenal? After Fulham's result yesterday, they're thinking about the holidays already because they feel like they're safe. I mean, the job's not mathematically done yet. We still need 3 points. So it's early days. Like I always say, Newcastle United have gone 1-0 down after 5 minutes. I'd rather go down 1-0 after 5 minutes than 1-0 down with 5 minutes to play. They need to regroup. They need to have 5 minutes of keeping the ball and trying not to try not to concede a second goal, and then get their game plan back in action. And Steve Bruce and Graham Jones and co need to sort out what's gone wrong. But not a great start.
Do you know what, Steve? Just to add on to what you've just said then, this feels exactly like the Liverpool game for me. When Liverpool scored after 3 minutes, I remember the goal going in and going, oh, God, here we go. But not for 1 minute that my head goes down, and it hasn't with this. It's just unfortunate, that we have conceded that goal, and obviously it's not ideal. But I'm not worried. I'm not worried by it. I still think we're in it. It's fine.
Yeah, I think it's one of them. It's we've got a lot of players who change this game.
It's a great ball.
Game's on decided 5 minutes into the game.
No.
It forces us to actually go now, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. And don't remember, as I'm sure most of us were either there or saw it on television. If you weren't, the 4-4. I was there when Newcastle played the worst half of their entire Premier League lives. And we turned it round and got an equaliser, 4-4 in the second half. Amazing game to be at. Horrendous first half, though. So, anything.
One of the ones to leave early, Steve.
No, I stayed. I was with I actually featured on Match of the Day that day because I had Tino and Rob Lee with us at the game. And the BBC Match of the Day cameras focused on us a couple of times. I'll not tell you what Tino was saying in broken English when the fourth goal went in. But Tino did want to leave and head down to the bars. But I did manage to persuade him. And we were jumping up and down when that fourth goal went in.
I missed 3 goals. I was at the toilet.
Trying wigs on.
All right, Paul, do you think this is just the same Liverpool will receive early goal? Do you think this is why Steve Bruce always try to make defense at the beginning? Yes, Paul.
I just think they've just made a slow start. Sloppy. And Spenny's had that wig on, so that's cost her. Because David Luiz put the ball through, didn't he?
My fault. I don't have a baseball cap on.
El Nini.
I don't have a baseball cap on.
Hopefully we'll get back into it anyway.
Kieran, Arius.
Quick reply.
Yeah, the problem we've got is breaking down the opposition. Isn't it? When we go a goal down, we just don't really seem to know what to do. In my opinion, we rely on the counter attack or a set piece, don't we? Or a little bit of individual brilliance by Sam.
Chris?
Yeah, not the start that we wanted, but I'm not too bothered about it. Just based on where we are in the league, on sort of the position that we're nearly safe. We need to get these points.
Jesus,
but
poor.
It's it's typical Shelvey. I mean, what will it take for Steve Bruce to give Shelvey a rest? I mean, he sees like the 10% effort that he puts in, and think that's completely vital to the club. But I think that the 90% that Matty Longstaff or somebody else would give would completely make up for the Hollywood passes and occasional goals that Shelvey gives you. So I think this John Joe Shelvey but John Joe Shelvey love fest needs to end right now.
I noticed we always play better after we concede the goal. What do you think of that, Spinny?
I think most of the goals we concede are in the middle of the park. If we're not playing dead balls, everything in the middle in the semi-set circle is just getting brought in from the middle where Shelvey is and scoring, and then goals are just tap-ins to them. They think we're on the track. training pitch. The last 2 shots they've had on goal, they're just passing it about, not even running. We need to be fighting them, man.
Martin, are you still optimistic that we're gonna get something from this game after this lobby started?
I think so. Yes,
I still think it's going to be 2-0.
All right.
Yeah, look, there's loads of time to play, so I'm not going to get down about it. But midfield, we just lack so much. There's no combativeness in midfield. There's no Arsenal players are allowed to run through and pass it around. Who's getting at their ankles? Who's giving them a tap? Who's letting them know that they're in a game? They're walking around us and we've got no bite there. I'm not saying you need to go in strong enough to collect a yellow, but let them know they're in a game in the middle of the park. Shelvey not jogging back was partly to blame for that, as was the keeper, I think. But look, 12 minutes gone, still a lot to play for. But if we don't step up the middle of the park again and we get passed through, then they could come at us again. But yeah, look, loads of time. Keep the faith.
I don't even know what formation you're in here. You?
I'm not 100% sure.
3-5-2.
It was 3-5-2, but if you look at the ball there, where Richie was on the left hand side there, Longstaff was completely open in midfield, and John Joe Shelvey's just stood alongside Richie, looking at him. Why is Shelvey not moving? Why make a move, give him some free space, pull a player away to let him be able to play some ball, and instead he's just standing there looking.
You got players arguing, as Chris has just pointed out there. The Max is arguing with Wilson, wanting to know, you know what I mean? You don't need that when you're about to go down at home.
He looks like he went to save his energy for 90 minutes for Shelvey. Charlie, that day you were talking, told us about the 2018. Who scored first, if you remember?
I think it was. Did Richie score?
Yeah, he scored the winner, didn't he?
Richie scored a penalty, didn't he?
Yeah.
Was it a penalty? Perez and Richie. Yeah. It's interesting that to see that Xhaka is the one playing left back. So you would fancy Almo or St. Maximin to be getting at him. I mean, the Sunday League manager would be telling them to get it straight at Xhaka the fullback if you had Almo or St. Maximin on.
I think that's why Wilson was shouting at him, Charlie. I think that's why Wilson was shouting at Maxi to say, get out on the left. Get out there and get up against him.
It's nice to be sort of relaxed, though. I mean, when we went 1-0 down against Brighton or against Burnley or against Villa, it was sort of real angry, you know what I mean? But every game for us from now, I think we're safe now. Fulham aren't going to catch us. So it's nice to just sort of relax and enjoy the match with not much riding on it. If that makes sense.
Holly, how you see the first minutes? Holly.
It's always disappointing when you concede early on, but like Chris Hall said earlier, I think it does feel very much the same as the Liverpool game, when I think a lot of our confidence dropped after we'd scored that goal and we thought, they're going to go on to have an absolute field day here and beat us by a ridiculous amount of goals, but then we did still get something out of that game. And I still do feel confident. Obviously, I predicted a 1-0, which obviously isn't going to happen now, but I think we can still win as long as we just sort out the team and go in with a better mindset. But I don't think we need to panic too much. There's still plenty of time in this game, and I don't think Arsenal have been amazing. It was a disappointing goal to concede, though, because I think it was poor, and I think Martin Dubravka is to blame for that.
Let's talk about Willock. We're gonna miss him today. He can't play against his former team. I read some things talking about how much is the contract, and it was been saying it's 20 million, but now they said no. We hear some articles talk about actually Arteta still he wants him in the team. For me, is it weird that Willock doesn't find a place for him in Arsenal, especially with they are not much good. They are performing this season. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange look. With Willock, he's a great player. There's no doubt about it, Al-Walid. He's a talented kid. I think it's been mentioned on a few of the shows over the last couple of weeks. it could be like the Kennedy effect. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was Paul who brought it up on one of the shows. You know, where we've had Kennedy look great. We all wanted to sign him. It was round about the £20 million mark. But then he came back on loan again, and he was a shadow of his former self. So it's difficult, really. It's difficult. He's been a good loan player. Is he worth 20 million or 20 million plus? I'm not 100% sure, Al Walid. He's clearly not in Steve Bruce's plans. If Steve Bruce is going to be here at the start of next season, if the takeover is still ongoing and we end up embroiled in legal action and it drags on, then, you know, Bruce will be here seeing out his final year of his contract, and, you know, he might take a chance on bringing him in, but I don't know. You know, Willock clearly says he wants to come, but at the same time, why would he want to come from one team where he's not getting a game and come to another team where he's not getting a game? So it's a strange situation with him. But look, he's done us some great service this season, and I would say that we probably need to look at strengthening, but maybe he's looking at somebody on a permanent deal. I'm really going to be, you know, disappointed if the takeover doesn't go through before the start of the transfer window, and I'll be even more disappointed if Newcastle don't look at signing another striker, because goals win games, and Newcastle have had a lucky escape this season by losing Wilson for that short period of time, and then managing to get him and ASM back in when they needed him, and that's, you know, we can't gamble like that. Mike Ashley loves a gamble. If you gamble like that, you're going to lose your Premier League status, and we don't want to do that, you know.
Shoot!
It's a Maxi.
Maximum.
I don't know if any of you have seen, but have you seen that the Man U fans have broken into Old Trafford and they're going mental on the pitch? Loads of flares and that.
Fucking idiots, them lot, aren't they?
I hope they set fire to that stadium.
Cross by Ritchie and St. Maximin's shot to weird shot actually to the goalkeeper hand, but it's turned to be a corner.
Let's talk about the game.
I hope the corner is still not playing because I'm late.
Smashing up the cameras and throwing the sky cameras all over the place. And
it was a tricky one.
All right, lads.
Corner, come on.
Matrici takes it.
Ooh.
No, I think it doesn't.
Just on Willock, I believe. I thought it was interesting that Steve Bruce said in his press conference, obviously getting asked about Willock, and he said, well, you know, I was going to play him this week, but obviously my hands are tied. And I was thinking, good one, Steve. That old chestnut. You know what I mean? It was almost like...
He turned around and said about his super sub. He won't name the name like being called super sub. It's only him who makes a mini sub. Just it's been called that.
Steve Bruce is the only player. He's the only manager who would say, "I would build a team around him." He will build a team around him, but he won't start him.
I was going to say, surely that's a yellow.
He says, "I will build a team around
yellow card
Willock,
for
but
Arsenal.
He won't start Willock."
Yeah, Xhaka. No surprise.
Chris, you don't know whether to believe or not. That's the thing.
I hope he will be okay. It looks
yeah,
looks a little bit awful. Yeah, from
gotta go. We've got to keep going now at Xhaka. Got to. He's got his yellow card now.
Now he's got a yellow. Stick Maxi up against him.
Hopefully he will be okay. Ball for Willock. He just updated last week. He just updated his Twitter account with the Newcastle player. Before that, he was Arsenal because he's on loan. Do you think this is a message to Newcastle management?
Possibly. I think he probably wants to stay, but obviously it's like finances end of the day. I just want to pick up what Steve Bruce said in his press conference. He said obviously when being a super sub, he doesn't like that, and that if he's here next season, he wouldn't be a sub. So obviously he intends to play him next season. So does that mean Shelby's going to miss out? Is that what he's saying, or is it going to be locked up? Scapegoat? Scapegoat again.
It's just Steve Bruce tucking up his arms.
Kieran,
I'll be amazed though. I'll be amazed if we spend like 20 million on one player. Like, be amazed. I think it'll be another.
It's not 20 million. They said it's still not clear for 20 million.
I don't think we've got the money.
Close to that, Halloween, to be honest. It'll be close.
We could pay the parachute payments, Alwade. You know the parachute payments we were promised the next season. The 3 clubs goes down from the Premier League every season, and if they stay down in the Championship, they get a parachute payment.
Yeah.
But the 2 that's gone up, they're the one that the 2 who went down, and there's Bournemouth who's in the playoffs. So if they go up, we'll get an extra 10, 15 million quid on their parachute payments.
We got 5 million now. 5 million.
8 million.
Kieran, what do you think? Kieran, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't see the owners spending 20 million quid. I don't even know if they've got any money to spend this summer. That's the thing. Isn't it?
Chris, do you think we heard Lingard is priced 20 million, same as Willock, and as the press talking about? Who do you think is worth more, or do you think they are the same, or you think who's better, Lingard or Willock?
I think Lingard is more established, but I think that Willock has the higher upside. Maybe Willock has the higher downside, the lower downside. But he has. I would take Willock long term over him. But one proposal I saw that might work for Arsenal is to buy him for 20 million, but on 5 million installments. So we pay 4 years of 5 million in installments, and with the Arsenal's money woes, they might go for that sort of long-term infusion of money. So that's a possibility to look out for, to do a staggered deal. I know that in the past, Mike Ashley prefers to just do it all up front, but look for maybe a proposal of a staggered multi-year payment that might work for both sides.
Svinny, you're talking about parachute payment. Do you think we have to spend it on Willock? Do you recommend that?
It's just typical Newcastle, Alwade. If a club turns around and got a loan player for 20 million quid, any other club would say, well, we'll give you the 20 million quid now then. Because it's Newcastle and the teller, the price goes up and they say, oh, we're going to pay that for it. They should have paid the 20 million because I think he's a cracking player. For me, we should get that Gilmore from Chelsea as well because he's up for grabs and he's a cracking player and all.
What about Tammy Abraham from Chelsea? I would take Tammy Abraham.
He's going to Aston Villa, isn't he? He's going to Aston Villa apparently already.
I think it's going to be more than 20 million. Martin, do you think is it weird Willock doesn't find him a space or a position in Arsenal lineup?
I think if you look at the season Smith Rowe's been having, and probably Saka as well through that middle, I think they've probably got an abundance of talent there. So I think, I suppose if you were an Arsenal fan, you probably wouldn't want to lose Willock. I think he's a great player. I think if we were going to buy him, I wouldn't be looking to pay any more than about 14 million for him, maybe 16 tops. I think he's worth that. I don't think he's worth the 20. I think he's got loads of potential. The thing I don't get is when a club takes a player on loan, the player goes to a club because he's not getting games at his parent club. So what's the point of bringing a player to a club and then not playing him? Obviously, if you bring in a player on loan, you bring in a player because he's better than what you've currently got. So I just don't understand the rationale, which I haven't all season from Bruce, in bringing in a player of the caliber of Willock, who obviously we think is better than what we've got because we're paying his wages and bring him in from Arsenal. And then we don't play him. We leave him on the bench. So I just don't get that bit of the whole loan deal. I would have been putting him in ahead of Shelvey. And I think maybe I would have probably given a spin out to Willock and Matty. I think that had potential to be a really, really good midfield pairing with a bit of bite and a bit of pace. But as you see from today's game, Bruce is happy to keep giving that armband to Shelvey and let him wander the pitch, lazily, and no tackles, no bite. So yeah, I'd love to see Willock come, but I agree with some of the other guys. I cannot see us paying the money unless it's in installments. And as Steve said, if the takeover's still wrangling on, I cannot see us paying any money for anything until that's all resolved. I think it'll be as we are, move on.
For me, Alwade, as well, this time last year, we were saying we're going to have no money for nothing. We ended up spending 100 million quid on players because we didn't think anything was going to be bought because of the takeover. So you don't know, do we? Right, for certain.
Yeah. I think the other thing with the game as well, Spenny, I was just going to say on the game, if we'd have gone back 10 weeks and we spoke before with the predictions that the optimism had changed 10 weeks ago, every single one of us on this panel and probably around the Twitter sphere expected out of the last few fixtures, including Arsenal. We said we'd easily get beat. So the fact that we've got enough to be able to sit here and go, do you know what, lads, there's still 80 minutes left. We're still in this. Same as the Liverpool game, the optimism has changed, and the attitude, I suppose, has changed. So, if by chance we get nothing out of this game, we weren't really expecting anything 10 weeks ago, lads. So, is it really that much lost?
Just been watching there. 4 players around Wilson. Who's he pass the ball to? Tries to pass it to Wilson with 4 players around him.
Yeah, it's like this is the plan. Charlie, what do you think of who's the replacement for Willock in Arsenal? Who's taking his place in Arsenal, do you think?
Do you know what I think, mate? I think the fact that Willock sort of done all right with us, I think it's like a double-edged. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. I think because actually, when we signed Willock, I actually interviewed a couple of Arsenal fans to sort of get their thoughts on him because we didn't really know much about him, and Arsenal fans didn't think he was good enough. Like he was way down the pecking order. They've even got that Emil Smith for this season, the youngster who's come through. Even he's leapfrogged them, so he wasn't really getting any game time. Now he's come to us, and he's scoring off the bench, and we've been impressed by him. And now Arteta's sort of flirting with the idea of bringing him back next season to have a look at him. But I think Steve mentioned the Kennedy effect earlier on. I think the smart decision for us, from our point of view, would be if we haven't got any money to spend, try and get him on loan again, and then with an option to buy, maybe it's 20-25 million.
Great save by Dubravka from Xhaka shoot. Went to the corner.
Way too easy though for them to get to that ball. Way too easy.
Chris Hall, do you think Willock should be our first signing? This is what we need as first signing, regardless the takeover, regardless.
Yeah, it's a funny one, really, I believe, because I think if somebody said to me now, well, you can take Joe Willock for 20 million, but you're not going to sign anybody else, I'd probably say no. It's awkward, really, because do I think Joe Willock is a good player? Yes, and arguably he is better than what we have. I'd certainly have him in over Shelby, but on the other hand, I do think. I mean, his price is inflated because he's young, he's English, and that always raises the premium. English players in the Premier League are always overpriced. If Joe Willock was, say, Spanish or Portuguese or French, I don't think he'd come anywhere near 20 million, if I'm honest. But it's funny because where we are with the takeover, if say we got taken over tomorrow, would any of us want Joe Willock? Probably not.
No, probably
I don't.
not.
I think we'd be setting our sights higher than Joe Willock.
We'd be wanting Mbappe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't think we'd be going for the likes of Joe Willock. But given let's say this drags on and the takeover's a long way away, and we only had a limited budget, I really wouldn't want to be spending the majority of our budget on Joe Willock. I think, as Charlie suggested, I think getting him in on loan, let's have another season, have another look at him. Similar to the Kennedy argument, that first season we all wanted Kennedy, and we were being quoted 20-25 million, and we were all like, oh yeah, great, pay it. And then we got him on a season on loan again, which we were all pleased about. And I think there was a clause then inserted to say that we could have him. And then we obviously decided not to take up that clause because he just wasn't the same player. And, that second season syndrome, it could be the same for Willock. I mean, he should be starting the games. There's no doubt about it. And, he came on and he scored some really important goals for us. And he's got legs. And in our midfield, we've all been crying out for legs, haven't we? We need someone who can get up and down the park, put a tackle in, and push us further up the pitch. But if somebody said to me now, you can only sign one player, do you want Joe Willock? I'd probably say no, because I think we need 2 or 3 players. We need to improve 2 or 3 positions.
The thing about Kennedy, I think Kennedy thought when he was here, Kennedy thought he was a Chelsea player, didn't he? Kennedy thought he didn't really have the attitude, did he? Whereas I think Willock sort of I think Willock's sort of hungry. I think he's a bit more driven than Kennedy, whereas Kennedy was a bit of he had attitude problems, I thought.
Yeah.
I certainly don't think he's worth 20 million quid though. I wouldn't pay 20 million quid for him. If the takeover goes through, who do you think we're going to sign? 'Cause it's not going to be like Man City straightforward, is it? We're not going to sign like bloody, I don't know, Aguero or David Silva. I'm interested in what kind of players we would sign.
I think we just sign a higher level of players, Kevin. So I completely take your point. We're not going to go out and buy Haaland and Mbappe. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
We end up. I think we end up going. We discussed this months ago. I think we end up going for real top-rated Championship players, or for players in teams around us who are better. Well, not better than us, but players who. The better players in the teams around us. So, for example, going to Wolves and maybe trying to get Neto. Go into I don't know off the top of my head.
Even someone like Lookman.
Yeah, for me, Chris. If, like I said, if Rafa does come, he's got enough knowledge up there about players in his head.
Yeah, he has.
To buy the best players if he's got the money and his disposal. Yes.
Holly, what do you think? What do you think? Do we need Willock in Newcastle?
I would like to
3 seconds, Holly. Someone's got that. That's it.
Got to be Chris here.
That was Chris, that was it.
Yeah. I'm on my balcony. It's not my fault.
What was that going?
Sorry, you're saying, Holly?
Yeah, I was saying. I think that I'd like to get him on another season on loan if that was an option, because I don't think we've seen enough of him. I think we do need to start him for the remaining 4 games if he's fit and well enough to do so, which he probably will be, because he just hasn't had that chance. But of course, when he came off the bench, he has been really, really good. If we couldn't get him on loan, then I probably would be willing to take the risk on him, to be honest, because I think that for the potential that he's got, 20 million isn't that much of a bad price. I think in a few years' time, with the right coaching, he could be a really, really top player, and midfield is somewhere that we're lacking in. So I think that the fact that he plays in midfield is really good for us as well. But I can't see us spending 20 million on anything, to be honest. And if that was the only player that we could sign, I wouldn't go for Joe Willock, because we do need to prioritise a second striker.
34 minutes of the game. We're still playing the same. It's like expected way of playing for Newcastle. We always play like this. Nini on fire today. I think the substitution, most of the Newcastle players are from substitution. I think they're trying to prove themselves, and they are playing with the maximum 100%, like El Nini. Is it early to talk about the change, or we just hope this first half to finish at least at 1-0? What do you think, Steve?
Somebody, can everybody mute their microphones, because it's echoing a lot. Somebody keeps putting something on in the background, and it's affecting the broadcast. But never mind, we're sorted now. Say that again, Al Walid. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, sorry. I'm saying it's this is typical Newcastle at first half. Do you think is it early to talk about changes we should do, or we're just waiting until minute 60?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think you make any changes until the second half. I mean, Dubravka's pulled off a save. What else is happening? Arsenal are certainly on top. Certainly got more possession. Newcastle haven't really featured as an attacking force yet today, but yeah, I mean, what can you do to change it? I think it's all the usual suspects who, when the chips are down, need really to get their finger out, and it's. Unfortunately, Shelvey again, in that midfield just doesn't have the engine anymore. He was never the quickest player to start with, but he's not looking great, and that midfield is causing us a bit of an issue. So yeah, I would change the midfield. I would take Shelvey off. I would like to have seen Matty Longstaff have a run out alongside his brother today. I think it would have been a good game to try him in, and he'd be up for it. He hasn't played for a while. That could be a bit of an issue, but yeah, Almiron's distribution's not great today. ASM's been quiet. Arsenal have kept him out of the game. Wilson spent more time defending, than he has attacking. So it's Arsenal at the minute, but it needs to change. Maybe they can get back in at half time and have a look. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, Joe Linton, not very often you would hear me say this, but Joe Linton, at least when he was playing, was holding the ball up, and he was making the ball stick and letting people do the running off around him. We haven't got that today. We haven't got that with Wilson. Wilson's not really that kind of player, So yeah, it'll be interesting. I have managed to find this on Twitter, and Manchester United fans are on the pitch now. It's amazed me that there's that many fans who actually live in Manchester.
Yeah, they're definitely all from Manchester, because most of them.
Well, normally they're getting bussed in from 200 miles away. But yes, they're making a protest today. And they're on the pitch. Not quite sure why, but yes, that's my view anyway. Al-Walid.
But Steve, we always said that Shelvey, he should be out, but I think I never see him this season being pulled out.
Because he creates an issue in the dressing room. I think that's the big problem. That's the big problem with Shelvey. He's such a divisive figure in the dressing room. And as I said to you, when I was at the club working with Rafa and privy to a few of the conversations which were had, it's why Rafa didn't want him at the club anymore. He dropped him from the team, dropped him from the squad. He wasn't involved, but Steve Bruce has decided to make him a part of that squad and to the point where he's vice captain. So, ultimately, I think we all know that Shelvey is finished. We can't build a team around John Joe Shelvey. He's at the end of his career. We see one good World Cup ball in 10 every now and then, but on average, he lets us down in that midfield. And for me, I don't think he values a place. He's not a valuable player in the squad. On the alternate side, I've mentioned it a few times. Richie would do a great job in that centre midfield role. If he dropped Shelvey, I would have loved to have seen Richie in the centre of midfield along somebody a bit more energetic, putting Richie in a holding role and sticking Matty Longstaff alongside him. But pre-season's the time for that kind of experiment. But from my point of view, I don't rate Shelvey at all.
Do you think Shelvey would go at the end of the season, Steve?
If Steve Bruce is still here and the takeover hasn't gone through, I don't think so. I think he'll still be here. If the takeover's gone through, I don't think Steve Bruce will be here, and I don't think half the players will. But
what will happen if for some reason Rafa Benitez gets a job? Who do you think they would go for then if the takeover goes through?
That's a good shout because it's clear Rafa. It's clear Rafa is waiting for this job, to materialise because he's got a good relationship with Amanda and he'd like to come back and finish the job. But if Rafa has, to take a job elsewhere, I guess it depends on who's available. They will have a plan B and a plan C. I mean, Jose Mourinho is available. I know, again, not everyone's cup of tea, but I don't think many people would disapprove of Jose coming to Newcastle and doing a job. And I keep saying he's getting a bit older now, but Arsene Wenger's been mentioned. I would take Arsene Wenger under Ashley because I think Arsene Wenger did a great job at Arsenal on a limited budget. And, that's what you're going to get with Mike Ashley. If Ashley has to stay and the takeover doesn't go through for whatever reason, Arsene Wenger could do a job on a budget. And I think it would be, I don't think that would be a bad shout, but it's not always big names that make it. We've seen it in the past. There's some fantastically successful managers have appeared out of nowhere. Lots of people saying Steven Gerrard after his success in Scotland, but it's a different beast coming to a team like Newcastle in the Premier League. The Premier League such an unforgiving league, where in Scotland you only have to worry about finishing first or second if you're Celtic and Rangers. It could be we could end up with a Bielsa or something like that. I mean, who would have thought Bielsa would come and make such an effect at Leeds? But he has done, and just catching up with those programs on Amazon Prime, and he doesn't speak English, but he certainly gets his message across, doesn't he? So, yeah, I think I'd love to see Jose. I'd still love to see a big name, and I think somebody who's got at least a connection with the area via Bobby Robson is better than having no connection at all. And I think the fans would buy into Jose. That's for certain. Anyway, you need somebody like that who can motivate the fans as well as the team.
There was talk about that Italian guy. Is it Max Allegri? I think his name is. Let's talk about it last year. I don't know if that will happen, but let's talk about it.
Paul,
He doesn't speak English.
Joelinton warming up. Are you worried?
I would bring him on, to be honest with you. Wilson looks isolated up front. Looks by himself. I think I'd bring
the other
Elliot
thing,
Anderson on as well. And
Martinelli's tearing Murphy a new one down that side as well at the minute.
Yeah.
He's getting him way too easy, way too much ball.
What I think Arteta's done here.
Almiron still goes slow again.
From a sort of tactical point of view,
slow again, hasn't he?
we've only central midfielder wise, we've only really got Sean Longstaff and Shelvey, and Almiron drops in there. But then Arsenal have sort of got 5 in midfield. They're playing like a 4-2-3-1. So Arsenal that's how Arsenal have had so much of the ball. We're a man down in midfield, really. Arsenal have always got a pass on.
It's because we've got Shelvey in midfield, that's why.
We're a man down in midfield, and we've got Shelvey in midfield, so...
Yeah, sorry,
Kieran, yes, that's okay. Kieran, we are 3 minutes behind the first half. What are you expecting a change or a substitution for the team?
Well, I'm not watching the game, but by the sounds of things, like Martin said, that Martinelli's causing Murphy a lot of problems. So it might be worth changing up the formation to, I don't know, 4-2-3-1 or something. Just get at them. Just don't, like, you know what I mean? Don't sit back. Don't sit back at them. You know, we're probably going to stay up now, so we've got nothing to lose, have we? So just go for it.
Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, you know, all of us are calling for Shelvey to be substituted out. Bruce will never do that. I would echo what Steve was saying. I would put Matt Ritchie in charge of this club. He's already the on-field general. He should be the captain if Lascelles is not there. But that would just take a sort of a personality transplant from Steve Bruce to do this. But I back Ritchie over Shelvey 100%. And as far as substitutions, I don't know. I'm not just seeing much from Almiron. He just seems to be really struggling. But I don't know if that I would put I'd give young Ritchie a chance.
Anderson.
Yeah. Anderson and Ritchie. I mean, Anderson and
Longstaff.
Longstaff. Yeah.
For Almiron, he just saved us from a goal. He have defensive role apparently. Spinny Mag. Spinny.
Yes, mate.
Yes. What do you think we should do? I read in the comments down there, the screen. They are frustrated and they are angry. Angry comments I read. What do you think we should do with this game? As we say, do you think we are overconfident and that's why it went this way?
For me, I think Newcastle's turned to a second half team. They're not a first half team anymore. They just sit back in the first half and second half, they go for it. That's what I think. The last 10 minutes, 20 minutes, that's when the goals come in. The last 4 or 5 games, I think we've won it. In the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes, they've turned it into a second half team and they've turned it into a team when it's needed substitutions. And then when the substitutions have come on, they've scored. So for me, I'll agree with Paul. I think Joelinton should come on because the team's playing for Joelinton still on being on the pitch. It's not playing for Wilson.
Yeah.
Martin.
Yeah. I think we're showing them way too much respect, first and foremost. Stu Penn has just put on Twitter there, like, what happened to the old age saying or get into him and fuck him? Like, we're not doing nothing. There's no spine in the team at the minute. And like, to be fair, 17th position at home against a team, of that we know is not the Arsenal of old. Just way too much respect. Get into them. Set up like this at home is not working. As Charlie said, Arsenal have got a spare player in midfield. Odegaard and Willian are just having time to run around. Shelvey and Longstaff So I think we need to change. I mean, you'd even actually be better to go back just to a straight 4-4-2 and maybe bring Joe Linton on, push Maxi out against Xhaka. At least you'd combat that midfield. You could bring Anderson on then if you needed to. So there's half time there now. But that was reminiscent of the performances, I would say, against the likes of Brighton, and that just where's the same hold up, the same effort as we had last week against Liverpool? It's not there. And to be setting up like that at home against a team you could be getting at, it's not good enough. That's an awful first half for me. Sorry, but not good enough.
Charlie, who's gonna save us tonight, Charlie?
I think it's more of a tactical thing, mate. I think they've got Aubameyang. I mentioned before they've got 5 men in midfield, but they've got Aubameyang up front by himself. We've got 5 at the back. We could drop one of the centre halves, bring him, put another man in midfield, and it would give away a bit more control in the game, because at the minute we're kind of getting near them. Like we're kind of get the ball off them. But I'm just wondering what the panel think about. I was trying to think of a manager who would maybe blur the lines of whether we've got to take over or not, whether he would still be a decent appointment. What do you think of Roberto Martinez of Belgium? I mean, he's always played a decent style of football. He won the FA Cup with Wigan. He was doing wonders with them, keeping them in the league for years. He got Everton to 5th place in the Premier League before dropping off slightly. He's the Belgian manager. He's got Belgium as #1 ranked team in the world. Steve Bruce is never ever getting the Everton job. He's never ever getting the Belgium job, and he's never ever winning the FA Cup. Martinez has done all 3. So I was just interested, what would the panel think if we got Martinez in? Even without the takeover, I think he'd be a realistic shout.
He won't come anywhere, mate. I wouldn't leave Belgium to go to Newcastle.
No, mate, he's leaving at the end of the Euros.
Leaving, yeah. He's done,
leaving,
yeah.
So he's going to be a free. He's going to be.
Jones is there, like, isn't he? So I would have him, yes.
That's another thing as well. Graham Jones. He's had Graham Jones at Wigan. He's had Graham Jones at Swansea, Belgium, and he might have had him at Everton as well. It's almost sort of set up for him to come. I mean, we've played negative football under Steve Bruce all season. Martinez will come. We've got some good attack players there. Almiron, Wilson, St. Maximin. Martinez might get a good little tune out of this bunch of players, I think.
For me, though, when you're saying that Martins will come, I think the would-be buyers know who they want in place. And Mike Ashley knows who he wants in place next season. The same one he's got now.
I'd love Mourinho if we did get taken over. I'd love him. I'd love Mourinho. I think it would be a match made in heaven with Mourinho. I think the fans, imagine the away supporters in like Chelsea or wherever. We've got Mourinho in the dugout. I think that would really get behind him. Like
there was rumors this week that Bruce apparently is considering stepping down at the end of the season due to stress. I don't know if that's true or not.
That won't happen. He's too greedy.
Yeah, I thought that as well. Definitely.
Chris Hull, who's gonna save us in second half? Again, everybody today. What's wrong?
Yeah. Do you want this wig on?
He still hasn't taken off. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Show us all this
Oh
now.
my God!
No.
Repeat again.
And they're just all laughing, and I didn't even get onto it. Sorry about that. No, I think like everybody else has said, for me, it's the formation. I don't think the current tactics are working well. I'd like to see us go to a 4-2-3-1. I don't think the only trouble with this formation that we play with 5 at the back, I don't think it lends itself well to Almiron. I think he needs to be further up the pitch. So and Miggy's not really done much for me this first half. In fact, he's probably been our worst performer, I'd say, alongside Shelvey, obviously. So I'd like to see Miggy further up the pitch. But yeah, in terms of personnel changes, I mean, I'd like to see Matty come on for Shelvey, but as I say, it's not going to happen, is it? So for me, I'd certainly be looking to go maybe 4-2-3-1. Have St. Maximin out on the wing, maybe bring Murphy up from right wing back to the right wing, put Almiron in the number 10, and then have them 3 playing behind Wilson with Shelvey and Longstaff in the 2, and then we just go to 4 at the back. I mean, as I say, in an ideal world, I'd like to see Matty come on for Shelvey, but I just don't see that happening. If anything, I think if Matty does come on, I think he will come on for Almiron, especially if we continue to play this formation. But yeah, this current formation isn't working well. I don't think we're pushing Arsenal enough. I don't think we're asking enough questions of them. And I think Arsenal have had a really easy ride that first half. I mean, they've played well, but I think we've allowed them to play well. But I think if we push forwards and give them something to think about, and really, as I keep saying, get at Xhaka at left back, I don't see why we can't, get something from the game. It's good that it's only 1-0. Other than the goal, I can't really think of any. I mean, Dubravka made one really good save, but other than that, I don't think Arsenal have really threatened us that much. But this is the time now for Bruce to earn his wages and really, change things up and try and get on the front foot and try and get something from the game. Because if we come out second half like that, it's just going to stay like this, and maybe Arsenal will nick another one. But we may as well have a go. As we all know, we're pretty much safe. So why not have a go? Maybe now's the time for Elliot Anderson. Give him a run out, because if we carry on in this vein and we carry on with this formation, I can't see us getting an equaliser. Something needs to change.
Considering they've been on 4 planes this week, they're not certainly suffering from jet lag, are they?
Yeah, well, a lot of it is new players, isn't it? They're resting a lot of those players.
The other side of that, though, Xhaka got booked at just after 20 minutes, and we've not ran at him once.
No.
25 minutes after a booking, we've not put anybody up against him to put him under any level of pressure at all.
It's common sense.
It's not good enough.
Holly, what do you think Steve Bruce will do in the second half?
I like to think that he'll change the formation, because the 5 at the back isn't working. We're playing far too defensively, and it just doesn't suit this game, because we haven't got that chance to actually get up the pitch to threaten Arsenal's defence. And it doesn't suit Callum Wilson either, because Callum Wilson's been very silent in this game. So I think we need to go to 4 at the back. I wouldn't even mind playing a 4-4-2, to be honest, because then Callum Wilson would have a striking partner, which I think is something that he'd benefit from in this game, because he really is struggling to get the assists. So I'll probably put St. Maximin up top with him. In an ideal world, you'd like to see Matty Longstaff come on for Shelvey, which isn't going to happen realistically. We all know that. But even if we do bring the likes of Anderson on, I mean, we haven't got much to lose. We may as well just go for it, because I'd rather get beat by like 3 goals and actually have a go than to finish 1-0 and we just play like this for the rest of the game.
Steve, Svenny said earlier something interesting, that we are Newcastle, that he is a second half team, not a first half team.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. I mean, the stats back it up. Chris put something in the chat there before, and it came up on Sky. Newcastle's top of the league as far as scoring second half goals is concerned, 67%. So, that is a positive. I mean, looking back on the games that we've managed to get points out or won against, we've had good halves and bad halves, and we're not consistently good all the way through. So, yeah, look, the fact that we've got through to the end of the first half, only losing by that one Elneny goal, then Newcastle should still be confident about going in the second half. A lot depends on what's been said in that dressing room, and what changes are going to be made to address it. It's clear that we're not work. This formation that we've got isn't working against Arsenal's formation. Substitutions are going to be the key again. But let's remember, in the last few weeks, Steve Bruce has got his substitutions right. The big difference between this week and previous weeks is he hasn't got Willock to pull him out of it. So he needs to come up with another plan. Somebody needs to step up to the plate on that bench. And when you look back at the lineup on the bench, you've got, Longstaff, who could change things. Fabian Sharp, too early for him, I think, today. Joe Linton, he's going to be an outsider today, but Joe Linton could change the way we play. Certainly, as I say, they're getting the ball up to him, making it stick. Playing alongside Wilson, potentially. Maybe he's taking Almiron off, who hasn't had a good game, and putting Joe Linton on, switching things around a bit. Dwight Gale, of course, can score goals. We know could be a game for Dwight Gale today. As for Hendrick and Kraft, I would leave them where they are. Anderson, I agree. Look, you've got to give Anderson a run out sometime. He's clearly good enough to be involved with the first team squad. Well, why not give him an opportunity today? I think the no-brainer would be, for me, like a lot of the panel have said, take Shelvey off, put Matty Longstaff on alongside his brother, give him some much overdue minutes on the pitch, and then it's the key as to who you play up front. Maybe take Almiron off and put Gale on, or take Almira on and put Joe Linton on. But yeah, I wouldn't give Hendrick or Kraft another run out this season. I don't think they deserve it. But yeah, there is options there. I think, as I say, it's come too early for Sharp. But good second half team. I hope they can go out and prove it, Al-Walid.
Great. What do you think, Paul, of... it seemed to me Wilson and St. Maximin, they are very separated. And Almiron have defensive role. What do you think it's the...
They both started off very poor today, like for me. That's why I was saying to bring Joe Linton on, because they look lost. Maximin isn't a forward. He's a great player, but he's not a forward. That's why we need like a forward on with Wilson, because he's isolated up by himself up front. It's meat and drink for David Luiz at the back. He's got his flip flops on.
Who's the best player? Who's the best player to play with Wilson to help Wilson? You think?
I'd probably mix it up a bit. Obviously, I said I'd put Joe Linton on with him, and I'd take Almiron off because he's being poor and he's on a yellow card, and he's done 2 like dodgy tackles now. His next one he's off, so I'd take him off for me. Like probably Shelby as well. I'd take Shelby off, but he's not going to do that though, is he? He'd probably take Sean Longstaff off and bring his brother on.
Kieran, what's your move in this chess game?
Sorry, what was that, Howard?
What's your move? What's your move if you are the coach today?
Yeah, like everyone else, I'll get Shelby off and I'll switch it to 4-2-3-1. I'll probably put Anderson. Give him a run out. You know what I mean? He's obviously good enough if he's on the bench, isn't he? So just give him a try. I watched the game in the week when they played Villa, and he was the standout player for me. I think he's got something about him.
Chris?
Yeah, I put Anderson and Joe Linton in for Almiron and Shelby. Like the other lads and lasses have said, what's the point of putting if Anderson is behind the bench, he's good enough to be on the pitch, and what's the point of having him in the first team if we're not going to use him? Today would be there's not an ideal time, but got to give him a run in. I would start today. Pretty frustrated with our defense, but don't really have a lot of options coming off the bench. So I'd keep it how it is. But yeah, I'd switch out Almiron and Shelby.
Spinny Mag, regarding Arteta, what do you think he will? He will play for a second goal, or is he happy with this result? He expecting something from Steve Bruce?
For me, I think Arsenal will just settle what they've got now, because I don't think they'll put any more players on, because I think they're on the bench just to get rested for Thursday. Myself, they're winning 1-0, that's what he'll be happy with. For Newcastle, I think definitely a Shelby move. Or Almiron hasn't been good, but he's saved us from a goal. But I think we'll maybe get one of the Longstaff brothers on, or maybe it's Anderson for a bit of luck. I don't think he'll put Anderson on, but I'm hoping he will, because he need a little bit of a fresh air, young legs on, get a go to defence. I'm still positive, because I think Newcastle is in the last 5 games is more like a second half team than the first one. So I think we should start the show in the second half, because they never score any goals in the first.
Martin, what do you think will happen with this team? Too many choices we can do, but what do you think first move of Steve Bruce would be?
I think the first move of Steve Bruce will be to go and sit back on his seat. I don't think he'll change it at all. I don't think he'll change it tactically either, because he just doesn't. So I think, there's 10 people on this panel with more tactical nous than he has. So I don't expect him to change anything. I think the same fellas will trot back out. It'll be the normal 60-odd minutes. I think he'll try and persevere with it. I'd love to see Anderson come on. Shelby's offered absolutely nothing. We need to move about 10 yards up the pitch because we're sitting too deep. And I agree with Chris Hall. Oh, look at the fans. Sorry, Old Trafford on the telly. If anyone's watching it, they're ripping up the goalposts and stuff now.
That game will get called off.
That's great.
Yeah, it is going to get called up. So yeah, they need to change it up. Push further up the pitch. Martinelli's causing us problems, and as we've said, Arsenal have got a free player effectively in that midfield. So if we don't change that up, then I think it'll be pretty much as it was. Arsenal with the possession, and we'll try and hold them back. But we're not getting nothing up front. Almiron seems jaded as well. So I'd love to see Anderson come on at about 55 minutes and give the lad a good half an hour run out and see what he can do, because we're treating this Arsenal, not the Arsenal that's 11th in the league. We're treating them like Wenger's Invincibles at the minute. Get stuck into them.
Charlie, what do you think? Why Steve Bruce doesn't have a go in this game? We are big percentage. We are safe. Why he's not play with it? Why he doesn't make a risk or play for
this is just
surprising
the way,
Arsenal?
This is just the way Steve Bruce has always set his teams up, Halloween. It doesn't matter whether he's been Wigan manager, Birmingham manager, Sunderland manager, Aston Villa manager, Newcastle manager. He's always played this way. The players that we've actually got on the pitch at the minute, I wouldn't actually make a change at the moment. I would change the system. I actually think Shelvey and Longstaff have sort of been hung out to dry a bit in midfield with Arsenal with Arteta having the extra player in there. I would simply, Aubameyang's playing up front by himself. I would simply take the centre half off. I would move Richie. I would move Dummett to left back, go to a back four. I'd move Richie into midfield. You've got Richie and St. Maximin out wide. Almiron behind Wilson, Shelvey and Longstaff sort of sitting. And then that way, you're sort of matching Arsenal's 4-2-3-1 formation. Because at the minute, we'll just kind of get the ball off them. We're getting overrun the midfield and they're just having the way with it. So bring the changes on later in the game, but we definitely need a change of pace in the system now.
Interesting to watch the players coming through the tunnel there, Al Walid, and Shelby looking completely disinterested, just looking out onto the pitch, while Matt Ritchie's chatting to Sean Longstaff about how they can change the game and trying to give him a bit of. You can see him. I mean, I'm no lip reader, but he was being positive. He was just trying to, tell him where he was going wrong, or maybe where something could be done, or what could be done. Shelby, who maybe he's, you think would be interested in that kind of conversation because it involves midfield player. Just completely oblivious to it, you know what I mean? And for me, it's I don't know. This, I've gone on about this, and Peter's on the channel. We've managed football teams for years at different levels, but it's just little things like that you pick up on, and players should be focused going back out, not standing there in a daydream wondering what they're going to be having with their tea tonight. And that's what it looked like with Shelby. He's just never ever. He's not my kind of player. Wouldn't be anywhere near my Newcastle United team, but it's just one of those little things you pick up when they're standing in the tunnel. Al Walid.
I just saw that, and really, it's like everybody looked distracted. Everybody looked like different mind, somewhere else, and even Staff. He's away very far from Staff. He's frustrated, and he looked like he's dry and tired. Wilson, maybe only Wilson and Richie, I think they are excited for the game, but for the others, they look very distracted. And they were waiting something. I don't know what they are waiting.
Anyway, we're playing in our favourite half. We're playing down the hill. That's what we used to call it. Down the hill.
That's the drop.
It's got a little drop.
All right, we're starting the second half. 1 minute now. It seems no changes for the both teams, and I think Arsenal looks like they want to score the second goal. Also, Newcastle. I think we just have to wait for minute 65. It looks like. Actually, yeah. Okay, so
change anything.
He never does, does he?
Dubravka, no.
Same formation,
absolutely clueless, isn't he?
Almiron, since Almiron's been put back out wide, he's been anonymous, hasn't he? Past few games, Almiron was the best player when Graham Jones first come in.
I get that we're unbeaten in 4, but the manager's still got to go at the end of the season.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? It's just
I just want to flag this up as well. Why on earth anybody would choose to do a pitch invasion is beyond me in the first place. But why anybody would choose to do a pitch invasion in zebra trousers is again, is another strange one. Is that a sign that the takeover's on?
Is that Mohammed Salman?
Maybe Keith Patterson could get a pair of them pants.
I think Manchester United they have a shirt. The second team, it's look like zebra.
I'm sure that's something that John Justice Allen could be marketing.
Definitely, yeah.
Zebra pants. Come on, JJ, get on it, lads.
Can I just say something before we start in the second half? Again, my daughter's doing a bit of a walk for charity for mine. She's doing 100 miles in a month. The donation page is on my Twitter. If you want to donate, she's doing it for mental health because she's been struggling the last couple of months, as Steve knows, with her mental health, and she committed suicide a couple of times and all that. So we appreciate any donations. Thank you, because the people helped her through it.
Yep, good stuff. Follow Spenny on Twitter for that.
I was earlier this morning. I watched the interview with Super Malcolm, and it was interesting when you were talking, Steve, with him. That what you should eat before the game, and actually I want to know Super Mac, how many seasons play for Arsenal?
Oh, good question. Easy to find out. Keep talking, I'll Google it for you.
I found it interesting that he played for the both team, and. I think much.
Interesting thing about him playing for Arsenal, and this always it never surprises me anyway. By the way, he played for Arsenal between 1976 and 1979. Played 84 games, scored 42 goals. Hell of a strike rate that. One goal every other game. Fantastic. But he's welcomed at Arsenal like a legend, and every time he goes he gets an invite to Arsenal every season. The wine him, the dine him, he goes and does the lounges, and he gets taken onto the pitch, and the fans give him a round of applause. And none of that happens at Newcastle. These kind of things used to happen at Newcastle, but not in Mike Ashley's Newcastle, and that's disappointing. Arsenal treat their legends like they should. Man City do, Liverpool do. Newcastle don't do that anymore, and they should do. They recently, cobbled together Players Association, even that, which great idea, great concept, was done without consulting the previous Players Association, which already exists at the club. That's just how bad things are behind the scenes at Newcastle. So let's hope when the takeover goes through that we see a new rebirth of that, and these kind of ex-legends like Malcolm get the respect they deserve,
this is one of the reasons I brought it up. I want to know who you expect the English player would be for Newcastle and national team. For expectation, who you think is close? Of course, I'm talking about after, hopefully, inshallah, the takeover. Start with you, Steve.
What current players now who are at the club? Do I think any of them?
No. I mean, English player in the Premier League and national team.
Who would I like to see come to Newcastle if the takeover goes through?
One player from English team.
Harry Kane. Harry Kane at Newcastle, because the guy is chasing Alan Shearer's record, and that guy will beat Alan Shearer's record if he stays in the Premier League. There's no doubt about it, as long as he stays injury-free. But if we've got money that's no object for wages and money that's no object for a transfer, then you need a good spine of any team. And for me, you need a good goalkeeper. You need a good centre-half who's going to captain your team. You need a great centre midfielder, a good playmaker, and you need a good centre-forward. But, I would take Harry Kane. If you're going to take one player, I would take Harry Kane. If you want us to look in other positions, I'd love to see James Maddison come from Leicester. I think he would be superb. I think the fans would love him. He's a Newcastle type, an entertainer. He's the right kind of character. I know a lot of people are saying Jack Grealish, but Jack Grealish has already proved during lockdown what kind of person he is off the pitch. You don't see Maddison getting carried away with any controversy. Maddison is a class act. And then good centre halves are hard to come by. But for Newcastle, they need to really, scour maybe Europe for somebody who can come in and do it. But it doesn't necessarily have to be anybody young. You could pick up somebody. You could pick up somebody who's got the experience. Like an older head. Dubravka will do for goalkeeper, but I did say this probably last year, I think, where you need a stronger goalkeeper. Dubravka's okay and he's good for now, but if Newcastle are going to have money as no object, we need to be signing a world-class goalkeeper. So I think you need major surgery. You're going to need 8 or 9 players coming in if we have a takeover. But yeah, Harry Kane for me is an England player and as somebody who scores goals.
If you want
first substitution, Chambers instead of David Luiz injured. Okay.
Nice
Ball. Who you want to see from England national team in Newcastle next season? Hopefully, inshallah, after the takeover. English player. Foden
from Man City. Quality player.
Cool.
Quality player. Like Gaza. Very
Amazing.
like Gaza. Him like Foden. Love watching.
Kieran.
Harry Kane, obviously number 9, but no chance of getting people like that. No chance. Be a couple of years before you get players like that caliber. Like
Kieran.
Yeah, for me.
Anybody else? I can't really think of anybody else, to be fair.
For me, it would be Jack Grealish from Villa. But if you want to play out from the back, I'm sorry, but you need to move these players like Fernandes and Clark on because they can't do it. I don't think. And nowadays, the modern game, you do see a lot of players, a lot of teams play out from the back, and I don't think we've got the players to do that. Sharp, but you need someone next to him who can do it as well. But I don't know.
It's too many. It's too many players we need to change. But I'm just talking about national team because it's been a while, and we are talking about Supermac. It's been a while since we have a Newcastle player in English team. I think Wilson have a try before, but I don't think he's still a little bit far from to be there. So you're saying Jack Grealish.
Jack Grealish.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
Grealish.
Chris.
I would have the 2 English lads who are playing in the Bundesliga, Jadon Sancho and Jude Bellingham. I rate those guys. I know that of course there was a lot of interest in Sancho from Manchester United, but I think.
I don't think Sancho's going to come to Newcastle, is he?
You're going to build your club. This is just pie in the sky. This is not realistic. This is just saying.
Yeah, just saying. Yeah.
Unlimited funds and.
Sorry, Paul, you were saying. Paul, you were saying something. Sorry, but just the voice is getting.
Saying you haven't been to the big market yet. You haven't been to the big market yet. So you can imagine what Jack Grealish made. You wouldn't be away from the place.
Yeah.
The big market is like the party area with Newcastle.
Somebody take one again.
Some sound.
We're not in for each conversation. Which term, please?
Okay, Vinny, what's the player from a national team you want to see in Newcastle?
Well, it's obvious. Foden and Kane. Them two.
Martin? Very hard question.
I think
now Martin.
I've done a spenny. Everyone's doing it today.
Except
defensively, I would take John Stones. Midfield, I would take Maddison or Foden, and then attacking wise, if I was looking for a wing player, I would take Sterling, and up front, I would take Jamie Vardy.
Charlie,
that'll be mine.
I'm trying to think a little bit more realistic. If we get taken over this summer, I don't think we're going to be signing the Harry Kanes of the world. But when Man City got took over, I know they were signing like
Charlie, the sound, I think it repeats. I don't know what you should do. Maybe do it again.
There's a setting to take the echo off. If you go into your cam mic you have to click take like the audio echo off, but that requires you to be out of stereo.
Try again.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Oh, sorry, boys.
So you're saying,
yeah. If we were to get taken over this summer, I'm just trying to think a bit more realistic. You know, I don't think we're going to be signing the Harry Kanes and the Phil Foden's and players like that. When Man City got taken over, you know, they were signing Robinho, Roque Santa Cruz, and you know, like players like that. And I think like Craig Bellamy, James Milner, they were signing them sort of players. What we're lacking at the minute, I think, is a real quality central midfield player. Somebody who can get like Shelvey back in the day, you could get on the ball and knock it around. Somebody like James Ward-Prowse is like everything Shelvey is and more. I think if we get taken over, we could go for someone like him who's English anyway. But Kieran said, you know, Jack Grealish is a maverick. You know, if we were to go out and break the bank and sign one real star player, I'd love for that to be Grealish.
Danny Ings. I'd take Danny Ings as well.
Yeah. The only thing about Grealish, I don't see him leaving Villa. If he's going to leave Villa, why would he go?
I think if you chucked a lot of money in his face, I think Grealish would be the type of player that would come up here.
Yeah.
Especially Newcastle. You were talking about the big market before. I don't think Jack Grealish would be away from the place if he came up here.
Have you know the Kieran Dyer? Have you know the Kieran Dyer over here?
Do you reckon?
He wants Champions League football as well, doesn't he? Jack Grealish, he wants Champions League football, so I don't think he's going to get that straight away, is he?
Chris Hall.
I think with the takeover, obviously our options changed, don't they? And I think a lot of players would be really interested in coming to Newcastle. Just to put it in perspective, if this takeover does go through, you know, everyone classes Man City as like being, you know, the big licks and they've got all the money and the rich. But we would be 10 times richer than Man City if we get taken over. So I think, you know, we then become the new Man City. As Charlie said, I think, you know, there is obviously a list. There's the list of English players. Sorry, I'll just. Oh, wrong ball. Should have put Miggy in. In terms of players, there is obviously, you know, like a good list of English players that you'd ideally want to go for. And I know people have mentioned Foden and Kane, but like Charlie said, it's probably a bit unrealistic. So for me, my biggest one that I would go for would probably be Calvin Phillips at Leeds. I think he'd be fantastic in the centre of the park for us. A couple of others. Well, I don't know. I'm not all that sold on Bamford. I'll be honest. I think he's good. But I'd want to be going for a better quality of player than Bamford. I mean, other players that I've wrote down here, our Leeds, fantastic question. Like Martin's just said, I'd probably go all out for Stones because I don't think Pep's all that keen on Stones. So I'd certainly be looking at Stones. I'd also look at Grealish. I'd look at Dwight McNeil from Burnley as a winger, and similarly Harvey Barnes at Leicester. I think either of those two would be great. And up front, if you were pushing me on a striker, based on the ones available or the ones that we could possibly get, I'd probably look at Ings or maybe Ollie Watkins. They'd be the ones that I'd personally go for. But yeah, my biggest one would be Calvin Phillips at Leeds. I think he'd be fantastic.
Put a bit of shithousery up front with Wilson. I'd take Chris Wood from Burnley as well.
Yeah. Stones is shite. I think Stones is shite, mate. Like,
yeah, I do as well, actually.
Chris, who you think you would like to see from England national team? Just one player from to come to Newcastle.
If there could only be one, I'd probably think that James Maddison's a good shout from Steve, because I think he's someone that would suit our side and how we play. And of course, you could go out there and get someone like Harry Kane, but we aren't going to be able to rebuild a whole team in one transfer window. So we need to do it gradually, and the core of the team will have to stay the same for the first couple of seasons at least. So bringing someone like Maddison in would be a good shout because he would work in that team, and I think he could really improve that side how it is now. And of course, like I've said before, that is the position where we need someone most. And I do think that obviously Grealish would have been a good shout as well, but I don't think he's got the best attitude at times. So I think Maddison would be better than Grealish for us.
Aloid, I'd like to ask you, mate. I'd like to ask you, sure. who would you keep? Well, like out of the current players now, if we got taken over, who would you actually keep in the team?
It's a good question, of course, but it's depend on how we are gonna bring. And if we know who we're gonna bring, we know who we're gonna keep. It's but for me, I don't like too much changes. I think I think 4 great players, 4 players, it's enough for first season.
Yeah.
I think we should keep Dubravka. We have to bring experience center back. Like for example, I can come to my head is like Ramos, just to establish a new team, take experience of such a great player. He will lead he can lead the defense for 2 years, I believe, in Champions. Ramos, he's still eager to play more. He still have confidence in himself. He still have some energy, some power. He believe in himself. So we need this player to put him in the midfield. Second player, of course, we need to put someone in the midfield because we are not gonna waste our life with Shelby, or Sean Staff. We need a strong player who can control the ball, who can hold the ball for a while. For example, like James Rodriguez, like Coutinho. We need such a player who can have the ball. Apparently, who do this role in Newcastle is Joelinton, unfortunately. So we need a player in the midfield to do that, and of course we need Class A striker. Harry Kane. I love Harry Kane, but usually I like the player who can. He always easy to be injured. Maybe his style, his play, it's easy to get, and he's tall. He have weak ankles. He always get injury. But rather than that, he's Class A, top 5, I think, scorer in the world right now. But for me, maybe for a striker, maybe now I don't have a name, but I like the player who can play too many games. Let's say Benzema, if he Karim Benzema, maybe 1-2 years if he didn't, but I believe he will continue in Real Madrid. So it's we need expert player in each line, and this is just to sum up. Now, is it? I'm just waiting for you to scream because I'm behind.
What about Aureli? What about Lewis Dunk from Brighton as a centre half? I would go.
Yeah.
I really like it. Yeah, I think we should go for it. And Basuma as well.
What's his name?
Lewis Dunk.
Dunk. He's a midfielder, I think. Defense. Centre back. Centre back. Yeah.
Basuma in midfield as well is a really good player.
And I think the Belgium one, I believe he's a good player as well. Trossard. I think it's a good one.
That Castagna from Leicester, he's a good player as well at Belgium. Belgium are a good team at the minute, man.
I like that Pereira as well from Leicester.
It's now a minute 65 and no change. Weird. What happened?
Easy.
Goal, Arsenal. Goal. 2-0.
Oh, no.
Game over. Aubameyang. Way too easy. Left-hand side.
Wakes up, get back and stay in his state and score a second goal for Arsenal.
Shite.
We lost. It's looked like we lost the game, unfortunately.
Wait, Mark, you said 2-0, didn't you?
At minute.
I did say 2-0, yeah.
At minute 65, unfortunately.
Arsenal win.
I did.
Friday night, 2-0.
I did take Arsenal last night 2-0 to win. Yeah, I actually stuck a tenner on it last night. Sorry, lads, but
the beach. They won the beach already this game on the.
Could be more. Yeah, it's still half an hour.
Yeah. I think Arsenal, Newcastle, they are just to play the way we are, and they feel safe. They doesn't give much energy into this game. It's looked like from beginning. We're still waiting. I didn't see any dangerous attack or any from Newcastle. I don't know. Maybe too late for change.
That's a cross.
But I think there will be 2 changes, maybe at double change from Steve Bruce. We are waiting now. So it's look like we. It's look like we are losing. What do you think?
Where was defending there though?
Yeah, disappointing.
Nobody there.
Defending was shot.
It was the same thing, Paul. Martinelli on the left-hand side, Murphy a mile away from him, and then nobody tracking midfield at all with Odegaard.
That's what happens when you don't change your formation, isn't it? It's just
If there was a positive to come out of it, Al-Walid, it's the first time I've seen Emil Kraft appeal for an offside.
Yeah,
he was actually warming up as the ball got crossed in, and he clearly put his hand up. So if anything's happened, Emil Kraft's learned how to play offside. But yeah, I mean, this game's been poor. We haven't changed it at half time. There was no expectation, I don't think, amongst any of us at half time that he was going to change it. Bruce is looking at the heavens. The coaching staff are looking a bit clueless. But yeah, look, it's a 2-0 defeat. No harm done in the sense that Fulham got beat yesterday, and it's as you were. Fulham can't make any ground on us this weekend. We go into the next set of fixtures, obviously playing Leicester on Friday. We've got to give ourselves a bit of a wake up and make sure that we know essentially that the job's not done yet. I mean, Scott Parker in his interview yesterday more or less said, we know what we've got to do now. We've got to win 4 games, and they go to Burnley. It could be down to 6 points next week if Newcastle get beat at Leicester and Burnley collapse and Fulham manage to beat them. Then are people going to be saying it's squeaky bum time because we've got to go and play them? I still think we're safe, but this is disappointing. It's a disappointing performance. Maybe he's won too many changes in the sense that Joe Linton deserved to start today. If Shelby deserved to start, then so did Joe Linton. Why change it? Why change the winning team, if you like? And playing players out of position probably hasn't helped. And dealing with the mental side of it, that some of these players will feel that they're safe, their job's done, and they don't need to put 100% in. But it's an amalgamation of factors. And let's not forget, Arsenal are on the brink of going to a European final. We're not playing one of our relegation rivals here. We're playing a team, who we've already said aren't the Arsenal of 10 years ago, but
they're a better team than what we are.
Still a better team than what we are, and still got a better squad than we have, got better players than we have, and they've proved it today.
Because Arsenal, they play with the second team, and I think they are excited to play. They want to prove themselves to the coach, like El Nini and Martinelli. But Steve Bruce, he play with the second half team. This is usually the team we win in the last 20 minutes. But he decided today, let's use it in the beginning, and it's like a wrong call. So this is not we should do. This is not the way we should start the team, isn't it, Steve?
No, listen, I agree with you, mate. I agree with you. I mean, unfortunately, he has to go with what he feels right, and I think you saw it on social media during the week. A lot of people were crying for Callum Wilson to start, believing that was the right thing. Play Wilson, not Linton. But look, as I said, Joe Linton, I've criticised him, and rightly so. But it would have given us a better option today. And Callum Wilson coming on might have been the substitution that we needed. We didn't have Willock today. We didn't have the surprise factor of bringing Willock on, and suddenly somebody who's running at you from midfield as opposed to somebody who's walking around as if he's part of the last of the summer wine cast is like that's the issue. Joe Linton's coming on now. Maybe it's too little, too late. We're 2-0 down. What can he really do? But it's Steve Bruce. Steve Bruce has got it right over the last few weeks, and for me, he's got it wrong today. But hopefully, he'll learn from his mistakes and he can get back to the drawing board, and we can get something out of the Leicester game next week.
Paul, do you think next week, we're gonna play the same against Leicester, same second half team as we call it, or are he gonna do some changes?
I think he'll change it on Friday. I think Joe Linton will probably start, and probably Willock as well, because we've got to freshen it up a bit. Like midfield's been dreadful today, and I think he might make some changes at the back as well, because that's been poor. Probably bring Shaw in or something like that, because we just look flat, we look jaded. We look like we've been playing in midweek against a foreign team. You know what I mean? It's just shocking, absolutely shocking. Bad performance today. This.
Kieran, you are not watching the game, as I understand, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but
So you are just listening to our comments.
Yeah.
So what do you think from what you hear today?
Listening to you lot. See, play like this next week, we're getting absolutely hiding against Leicester, aren't we? I mean, a different class to what Arsenal are. I mean, the fact that he's waiting 20 minutes, well, he's waiting for us to go 2-0 down and change it, says it all, doesn't it, about him?
Spinny, you look like you ignored the TV and you are not watching the game.
Spenny's about to put the soaps on, I think.
Thumbnail.
So Spinny, and what do you think will happen in the coming few minutes?
Nothing. Like it was all fucking game. Crap on it. Yeah.
Right.
What a roll of rubbish. I'd rather gone down the corner and watch the Sunderland game better than this.
Shaw's on as well. Shaw's on for Fernandes, and Joe Linton's on for Almiron.
That's a positive.
Almiron's been terrible. I think they've been all out on the drink last night, haven't they? Look at them.
No, he played defense roles. It doesn't suit him.
I've come to the conclusion anyway. I blame Martin because he hasn't been on since he won.
Martin, what do you think will change in Leicester City? Do you think Steve will keep this second half team to play last 20 minutes as usual, or he will start with it again?
Yeah, I would probably start with Joe Linton. I think Almiron has looked he's just off the pace. I would definitely be starting with Willock. I wouldn't be putting him on the bench. I would maybe not start with Wilson either. I think Steve made a good point about that. That substitution. So maybe start with ASM and Joe Linton up the top, and maybe a 4-2-3-1. I wouldn't go with the same formation. I don't think it's working for us again at the minute, but I think he will. I can't see him changing it too much, but I wouldn't. I think he'll start Wilson, but I wouldn't. I think I'd put Joe Linton up there. I would bring Almiron. I wouldn't put Almiron on. I'd start with Willock. I think we need that. I think we just need those legs. He'll start with the same. It'll be Shelvey and Longstaff in midfield, unfortunately, again. But maybe put Willock in as that 10. But yeah, I don't see him. Again, if we looked at it, the last few weeks, we've taken points probably from the games that we expected. The point against Liverpool was a free hit and an added bonus. So for me, looking at the fixtures, Fulham, Burnley's not an easy game for them. Southampton, Fulham, they've still got to play Man U. So Fulham have got to win their 4 games to do anything really to catch up on us. So from that perspective, I'm not overly worried. So I think Sheffield United, if we take 3 off Sheffield before we go to Fulham, then I still, like Paul, I think we're okay anyway. But if that's the case, then I think Leicester and Man City are free hits really. So I wouldn't maybe start Wilson on either of those two. I would keep him and maybe give Miggy a bit of time. Give Anderson a run out and Willock, and keep the likes of Wilson and Miggy for Sheffield United at home. So that's what I think.
Charlie, how many points for the next 2 games, Leicester and Manchester City?
I think there may be a big fat zero, Eloise. I think there may be a donut. I think you're looking at the players today. That it's almost like the general consensus among the fan base is that we're safe now. The players, that probably echoes through to the players as well. I mean, we've given it to Arsenal. Really, we haven't even put them under any pressure at all. I kind of, unless I've missed it, have we even had a clear chance at all game?
No,
we've just allowed Arsenal. In this day and age, they're not a possession-based team. They don't dominate teams anymore. But Steve Bruce in the dugout, he probably half expected to see Patrick Vieira and Cesc Fabregas walking off the court. Steve Bruce, it wouldn't put it past them. But no, Aloid, we've just given the game. We've just been no desire really. It's just been a bit of. It looks like it's been a bit of a dead rubber really.
For me, beat Newcastle is put 5 midfielders in the opposition. Then you win the game.
That's what he's done, mate. Arteta's put an extra man in midfield, and
that's what's won the game.
Dominated the ball.
Chris Hall, do you think And for me, I see players of Newcastle. They look like they play a game yesterday.
Yeah, we look a bit tired, don't we? We look we look like we're the ones who played in Europe midweek, which is disappointing. But sorry, Abilene, I was just getting distracted with the scenes going on at Old Trafford. I don't know whether anyone else has saw it, but it looks.
They still going on. They're still doing that.
No, they're all out near enough now.
You must have brought the Tesco. I mean, the Tesco and got to the Old Trafford and some guns in.
But yeah, I looking at Leicester and Man City, our lead, it looks to me like we're going to struggle to get anything. But the big game for us is Sheffield United at home, and I think, as we've all pointed out, Fulham now need to go and win the last 4 games, and obviously we are one of those 4 games, which I do take note of. But considering Fulham have won 5 out of the last 34, it's not looking very good for them, because Fulham also have some really tough games coming up. They might get something against Burnley, but I'm sure Burnley will be looking at the game and thinking, all right, if we beat Fulham here, we're safe. So I'm sure Burnley will really be playing for the 3 points, and they'll really look to get that. Maybe see that game as a draw, but yeah, I don't expect us to pick anything up against Man City or Leicester. Obviously, if we get a point here or there, that'd be fantastic, but I don't see much happening. But I just hope that Bruce uses these games to kind of experiment a little bit. So I think, like some of the other panel members have already said, I'd like to see Matty get some minutes. I'd like to see Shah continuing, to bring, build on his recovery. Obviously, he's come on today, which is great. I'd probably stick Wilson up front. He will get sharper and sharper the more minutes that he plays. But maybe it's time to give Miggy a rest, because the last few games now that we've seen Miggy, he's looked a little bit disappointing for me. So I'd probably drop Miggy, maybe bring in Anderson or Matty perhaps. But yeah, it's just about us seeing the games out, and we're all looking towards that Sheffield United at home game. That's going to be the big game for us. I think even if we lose the next 5 games on the bounce, I don't think it's going to make a difference. I still don't think Fulham have got enough. But yeah, we've definitely got some points that we can fight for, and yeah, like I say, I think we beat Sheffield United, and I don't see Fulham winning 4 games. I just don't see it happening when they've won 5 in the last 34. So yeah, I just don't see it happening.
Holly, what went wrong today?
I think it's the fact that Steve Bruce changed the side. He normally sticks with a winning side, but he did change it up a bit too much today. Obviously played people out of position. I don't think the formation suited that team. And also, I think Callum Wilson's just, I don't know, the system we're playing doesn't suit him, but I'm not sure if he's still not quite ready to play a full 90 yet. I don't think he is. I'd rather have played Callum Wilson in the Man City game when you'd expect us not to get anything and continue playing Joe Linton, because yes, no one's really a fan of Joe Linton, but the past few games he's been all right, so just keep him in the side whilst he's got that run of confidence. I don't think it was fair to just drop him in the way that he was dropped. But out of the next 4 games, I think we will probably get no points off Leicester and Man City, and then I think we'll get 6 points out of Sheffield United and Fulham, which will more than see us safe.
Minute 80 now, and 2-0. All changes been made, and I think it's time maybe to talk about something else outside the game. I would like to talk, or ask you about your opinion. Yes.
I don't know if you're a boxing fan, mate, but it's looking like Tyson Fury Joshua is going to be coming around your neck of the woods in Saudi Arabia. Will you be excited for that one? Or?
Actually, this is true, but to be honest, I'm not that fan of boxing.
Oh, fair enough, mate. Fair enough.
Yeah, but it's very for sure. It's big game coming up. I would like to talk about actually, I was surprised, not yesterday, the day before, about this boycott. Usually I wake up and I read what's going on, and I found it weird. For me, I get all surprises. For me, it's maybe I'm a Twitter addict. I find it very hard. Should I join them? Should I didn't? Should I do? I'm from Saudi Arabia. Should I do that? But I try to join. And as as for me, as I always saying that save rate is ideal for me. I always try to follow his his lead. What do you think, Steve? Do you think this is worth it? Worth doing this?
Look, it's a stand, isn't it? It's a very important thing for a lot of people, and you either do it or you don't do it. I think what I find quite funny is those people who say they're going to do it and then spend the rest of the weekend, saying that it's affected them mentally and have come back. I don't understand how having a couple of days off social media will affect you to that point. Coming away from social media is a positive thing. I've done it without making a song and dance about it. I've just disappeared for a couple of days, and I think social media and the abuse online and the stuff that we've covered on Think Before You Tweet, we did it for a reason. We did it for the right reasons. We highlighted it, and I personally feel that it's great to see celebrities, big names, big organisations all coming out and making a stand against it. We did our own little thing at the back end of last year, and it had the desired effect, I felt, short term amongst our fan base. But I've still seen the likes of Keith Patterson, Mark Byers, to name but two people this week, being trolled incessantly. So it still goes on in our fan base, and unfortunately, it doesn't matter whether you block these people, because they're quite persistent. They'll set up other burner accounts, as it's called, and they'll come back and tweet again. So I don't know what their aim is. Is their aim to drive the other person mad or mental, or to upset them to the point of suicide? Is it to drive them off social media altogether, and then they move on to somebody else? I really don't understand what their motives are. What I will say is that the stuff on social media with regards to Newcastle fans really has only been evident over the last 12 months since the takeover really kicked off again. And when the takeover kicked back off in January 2020, just before COVID really became big news, there seemed to be a lot of people who don't want the Saudi takeover suddenly becoming a unified force, to spin their propaganda against the Saudi takeover. And that's been the big issue. I'm not going to start naming names. People know the accounts and they know the accounts that they're associated with. But I personally feel that they have tried their very best to incorporate other accounts, wind other accounts up. And some people are a victim in this. There are some pretty high-profile Newcastle accounts which, whether they like it or not, have been played here. They've been used, and those are the ones who are, basically being outspoken against the Saudi takeover. So I've gone slightly off topic, Al-Walid, but it has to be said, because our fan base has been, witnessing this, and unless people speak about it, then some people just will not realise it's going on. But yeah, I mean, the national campaign is a good thing. It's not difficult to come off social media at all. I could switch if I didn't have to promote books, magazines, shows, whatever. I could walk away from it tomorrow. I could switch my Twitter off, my Facebook off, my Instagram off, my LinkedIn off. Quite happily live my life, Al-Walid. I don't need social media. But unfortunately, because of the jobs that I do and the industries that I'm in, I do need it, and I need it to promote. And most people who know me, follow me on Twitter or Facebook, etc., will see that that's what I do. I promote, whether it's boxers or football or whatever, and we promote the show. You all promote the show when you're on it, so it's just a natural thing to do. But yeah, it's a cesspit. Twitter's a cesspit. I don't get any grief at all on Facebook, but I regulate and I know who's on Facebook. Get a little bit on Instagram, and I get none on LinkedIn. Twitter is the cesspit of all social media, and until they get a grip of it, then nothing will change. This little stand that's been made by a lot of organisations, football clubs, TV stations, etc. Let's hope it does something for, does help the change. Let's hope something does change, Al-Walid. But I think short term, I think we're stuck with all the same people on our timeline who are all going to continue in their own way and way of abusing people.
Hopefully it will do, and hopefully Twitter, and especially the the Twitter owners, they maybe try to update their or make it better for those trolls and wrong accounts. We see now Gale, I think last call for Steve Bruce, Gale on, from Arsenal, Odegaard out, and Thomas Partey in. And the results 2-0. Paul, have you joined the boycott?
Yes, I haven't been on. It's been great, to be honest with you. It's been refreshing. Not seeing daft trolls on, like trolling people all the time. It's just relentless, absolute relentless. Could you imagine going on today after a defeat? After this game, could you imagine going on Twitter after today? What it would be like going now?
No,
it'll be like relentless. Bruce out and all that rubbish, and it'll be like.
Yeah, I would like to see a game, good game for a change against the Big Six, especially, but still, we didn't see this season. Kieran,
it needs to be verified.
Sorry?
Twitter, it needs to be verified properly.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And for me, as a solution, I wish if I'm tweeting a tweet and someone say bad thing, or I want to block him, if I do block, I wish if this block, it's a play on all the people who follow me. I think this is a good solution. But for me, if I block someone for a tweet I did and he replay, all the followers and replayer, they can still go on in the same your tweet unless you delete it, which is make it difficult. Kieran, have you heard of the boycott? Have you joined them?
Yeah, I don't really tweet anything, to be honest, but it all comes down. Most of it all comes down to the takeover, doesn't it? And obviously, Ed Edwards from the Telegraph, he gets a lot of stick, but whether you like it or not, he could end up being right, because he does make some valid points, in my opinion, about it. Obviously, he's right when he said you can't pass it. If you can't pass the takeover, you don't know who's actually running the club. We all know that, but a lot of people don't take it well, do they? And they get a massive backlash from it.
Chris?
Yeah,
I think it's difficult for you.
I don't really engage in Newcastle or Premier League sort of banter kind of on Twitter. Most of the people that I follow is having to do
Shaw with a straight red.
Matt?
Red card for
what was that for?
2-footed tackle, so that's him out the next game, even if he was fit.
Oh, what a surprise! For Shar, isn't it? For Shar, right?
Yeah, Shar.
What about luck? First return and first red card.
He shouldn't be playing though, should he? He shouldn't just throw him back in like that. It don't make sense.
Oh, what a bad tackle!
Dangerous. Well, it's from behind. It's dangerous. Dangerous.
From behind,
tackle.
feet off the ground.
From behind.
Stupid tackle.
Maybe it was fast. But
on the positive, it was a tackle.
You made too much of that, mind.
Yeah. It shouldn't be a red card. It should be yellow. But it looks maybe they should check it in VAR. It's not that dangerous.
The VAR is just going to.
Yeah, Spinny. I was saying I might have I've gained a lot of followers from thanks to this show and Steve and everyone.
Like Dean's an ass.
Engagement, but I don't really engage in a lot of sort of only amongst you guys do I really kind of talk Newcastle. I don't really engage with a lot of the followers, and if I'm sort of dragged into threads, I just mute the thread and I don't bother what's going on. I don't see any tweets from people that I don't follow in terms of my mentions. But I do sympathize with all the abuse that you guys have gotten, and I do think it's a worthy project and campaign. Twitter is not real life. People, if people use their real names or got verified. If the blue check was not just for celebrities and sort of prominent people, but if everyone had to get verified, I think it would clean up Twitter a lot. So I've always been an advocate for Twitter using the blue check as a thing for good and not just sort of to like create a two-tiered system online because there's a lot of things that go to people who have blue checks don't have to engage, and then different options that Twitter gives to blue checks that aren't afforded to the rest of us that I think should be available to everyone. But yeah, I mean, Twitter abuse is just out of control, and I think any campaign to raise awareness about it is a worthy cause. And it's not difficult for me to spend a weekend away from Twitter, except that this weekend was also the NFL draft. My San Francisco 49ers had a good draft. I was just a little bit interested in sort of what the talk was about who the 49ers selected, and so I've engaged there a little bit, but kept away from Newcastle talk for the weekend.
Sven,
you finished yet? Longest answer ever.
You look like sleeping.
I got interrupted by other events.
Sorry, Chris, I didn't quite catch that. Can you say that again?
Can you say that again, Chris?
Svenny, are you joining this boycott? I think I see your tweets. I'm not sure.
No, I've half my podcast. I'm not putting about 80 or 90 tweets down. I put about 40 or this week today. For me, the choice is going to be still there. Fair enough, it's been advertised well. I've been trolled, as you know, some of years. It's not very nice. But I've come to a conclusion. It's just words on the screen, which it is. So let them get on. My timeline at the moment is a happy one. I've got all who I want to be on, and I'll just double check if I want to follow them. Simple as that. Of the history of what they're doing and what the tweets they're doing. It's the way to do it really at the moment. You got to.
For me, it was difficult because I was hosting a big guest last night, and it was very difficult for me. I want to promote because I was waiting this moment, and thank you guys. Thanks Martin and Daz and everybody who helped me with this. Who didn't join the boycott? Apparently, Martin, is that right?
I literally put a tweet out at the start of it and said, "Yeah, I agree with it, and I'm going to go off." And then about 30 seconds later, I tweeted something for one of the loaded shows and went, bollocks, forgot all about it. So I thought I probably looked a bit stupid after a bit of virtue signaling, so I just cracked on as normal.
I wasn't having a go at you, Martin, but what I've noticed is there's a few people who've basically put stuff out and then come back on and then made long threads about, the whole situation, and I find that bizarre. I just find that bizarre. I don't blame anyone for making a mistake. I could have done it very easily. I've got to be honest. I have checked Twitter, but I've never tweeted anything. But I just feel that all of this garbage about making a stand, spending 2 days telling everyone you're making a stand, and then suddenly coming back on and saying you've suffered by not being on. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand.
I agree. I've seen a few things today. And I kind of actually sent it to Chris and the lads on our chat. And I was like, what was the point of all the hoo-ha there the other day? And then literally you come back on. At least I made the mistake, and I went, do you know what, lads? I fucked up. I'm just going to crack on. Now I don't. Obviously, I get a few people that'll, I get comments and stuff. But for me, the verification piece, it's dead easy. Put your passport number in, put an address in, get verified. Twitter could fix it if they wanted to. They don't want to. So there's a lot of social media platforms. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter could verify people going onto it and onto its platforms by putting in an address, verification, and link your passport or your driver's license or your NHS card, or over in Ireland, your PPS number, national insurance number. So there's ways of doing it, but they just don't want to go through it. So it is unfortunately down to those platforms to change it. I don't get the incessant trolling that the likes of you do, Steve and Spenny, I'm not as well known as Spenny, so I don't get as much. I see it, but I just tend to, much like you've advised us to do, Steve. If I see people on there and I think they're assholes, I just block it and I move on. I do my thing, and I've got a good set of followers and people that enjoy what we do on our shows and on these shows. And provided they're happy enough, then we'll crack on. If other people want to do what they do, it's sad times really, but it does affect people mentally. People that have been on the show know. Like my mother tried to commit suicide late last year, and it was these shows and people around me that kept me going. So for me, Twitter and these shows has been good for my mental health, not bad. But it's also, as Spenny said, it's about what you choose to look at. And sometimes, rather than get wrapped up in it, it is just words on a screen. But it does affect people in different ways. But Twitter and all these others, they have a lot to do to fix it, and they should.
The game ends 2-0, and I think if we spent two another halves, it looks like we are not gonna score. Charlie, how's that work for NUFC blog? I think you are on regarding the boycott.
NUFC blog, NUFC blog are supporting it, mate. Different strokes for different folks. I personally have still been using social media, but into the blog hasn't put anything up at all. I just think what I've always found is the people who are sort of a majority on Twitter, whether that be political or anything, are like a minority in real life. You know what I mean? They are like some of the people you see on Twitter, like you just don't even bump into them in real life. You know what I mean? With the passport situation, I think that's bang on. I think you should be one passport for one personal account. Fair enough if you run companies, businesses, obviously get on their accounts as well. But in terms of a personal account, you should be verified. Bloody dating websites and that do the same thing. Know what I mean? There's no reason why Twitter shouldn't do the same, because Twitter is a cesspit. Back in the day, Twitter used to be like a place where you would just you'd follow like a celebrity like Gary Lineker or Piers Morgan or Joey Barton, and you would just sort of interact, and it was a laugh. But then all of us, especially over the past 5 years, I don't know whether it's since sort of Donald Trump took over it and it all went a bit mental from then, but for the past 5 years, Twitter has been an absolute cesspit.
And now the big question, Charlie, is which dating site?
I'm on them all, Steve.
Chris Hall, did you be away or continue?
Yeah, so I like Steve, I had a quick nose yesterday. I didn't post anything or tweet anything. I just had a quick nose just because I had to spare 5 minutes in the day. But for me, having a break from social media, I think it's a good thing. Sometimes you can't get caught up in it all. And I think, as Paul said earlier, the last place I'll be going now once I finish this show is on Twitter, because, I think you do get some people, who overreact and, maybe go into things that, the over exaggerate basically. And, as Martin said then, the difficulty for me is when I see people who say one thing and then do another thing, and it's very contradictory. And there's always a temptation, isn't there, to kind of like call it out. But then on the other hand, I just think, do you know what? I'm not arsed. Like, I genuinely, each to their own. People can do whatever they feel they need to do, or, however they want to spend their day. But I've got far more important things to worry about. And the only thing is, I do feel, though, however, for the people who do get trolled, because I think it's terrible. I thankfully, touch wood, it's not really happened to me. I've had the odd comment here and there, but I do feel for people who do get it, and it is wrong, and it shouldn't happen. But I always try to tell people, whenever you do get trolled, you should not take it as a compliment, but try not to worry about it too much, in terms of, I feel sorry for the trolls in some ways, because I think, their lives must be that, insignificant, or they mustn't have anything else better to do than bother other people. Like, I've always had this philosophy where if I don't agree with somebody, I'm quite happy to have a conversation about it, or agree to disagree, but I certainly wouldn't start attacking them personally or going into great detail on it, because one, like I say, I've got better things to do, and two, I realised that there is a real person behind the other screen, and I certainly wouldn't want to upset anybody or make anybody feel uncomfortable or ruin their day, or for the sake of a a pointless argument, because let's be honest, yeah, as somebody said then, you know, it's not real life. If you were walking in the street and nobody's going to come up to you and go, blah, 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 blah. No one, it's just not going to happen, is it? So, you know, I think people just need to kind of wind the necks in, so to speak, and just let things go. If you don't agree with something, block it, ignore it, move on. I don't see why people, you know, make a career out of trying to disrupt and upset other people. It's not a nice thing to do, and it's kind of a waste of time, everyone. So I wouldn't even bother.
Holly, did you be away from social media for this boycott, or you continue on?
Yeah, I've supported the boycott. I think that, yes, it's probably not going to have a massive impact, but even just trying to do something and trying to get a message out there is better than doing nothing at all. Because, you know, especially at the moment, I think it's been worse with us being in lockdown. Normally, abuse doesn't really affect me or other people, but because you realise it's not real life and you go into normal life, you see your friends and none of that stuff happens. But with us being in lockdown, you can get sucked into it a little bit more and think that that is real life because you've spent a year online and not going outside. And so it does get to you a lot more. I think that social media can be positive as well. Of course, I would never have been able to do these shows if I wasn't on social media, but it does bring a lot of negativity as well. And I always find it sad to think that grown adults can disagree on something, have a different opinion, and then they'll start having a proper argument and making things personal. Like, it's just pathetic. Like, how can you literally just start insulting someone's appearance or character or whatever based on a difference in opinion? It's really pathetic. I'll never understand that. I've disagreed with people on Twitter. Have I ever insulted someone personally? No, I never would, because people don't see the bigger picture. They just look and think, oh, well, I'm just online. There's not they don't see the fact that there is someone behind that screen that could affect someone. People have mental health issues. I have mental health issues, and you don't know what state that person could be in at that time, and you saying something which may seem so irrelevant to you could tip that person over the edge. And to think you've driven someone that far, I couldn't live with that, so I don't know how other people can. They really need to think about what they're doing.
At the end, I would like to thank you all for listening, and thank Steve for this opportunity. And I want to ask you maybe last question for you, Steve. Actually, I read the tweet from our colleague Stuart Binman that he's not agree with this boycott because it's look like it's going to be help Premier League after this madness going on for the Super League. I just want to ask you about did the Premier League maybe take a relief because of this boycott? And of course, maybe if you can do a proper shout out for a sponsor, because I think not a very not a sloppy one. And final word for you, Steve.
Look, nationally, people will pay attention to this. As I've said, this whole campaign has been one with good intentions, and you know, from my perspective, Al Walid, it's just nice to see celebrities, big organisations taking this seriously. We aren't celebrities, we aren't a big organisation, but we as an NUFC Matters family decided to give it a go ourselves. We didn't really get the recognition that I thought it might have got because of the serious issues we were talking about. It's sad to say that, you know, that didn't happen. However, we got plenty of recognition amongst our supporters, and the people who watch the channel spread the message far and wide. So yeah, look, let's hope it does, you know, have an effect. Protests, if they're done properly, do have an effect. And you know, from my perspective, I think you know, it's probably done a lot of people a lot of good coming off social media just for that short space of time. And you know, Anthony there's come off Twitter 6 months ago after 8 years being on there, and he says it's the best thing he ever did. So you know, you've got to remember we live in the real world. These people who troll you or who attack you or who try to say nasty things about you using 140 letters wouldn't say it to your face. And that's what you've got to remember, you know what I mean? And I think as well, things will change. We're hoping by August we'll all be back sitting in St James's Park, going to these games. You know, I know sadly some people won't be able to get to the games on a regular basis, but those of us who live local will hopefully be at St James's Park, you know, week in, week out again. So, you know, there'll be a lot less of us on social media all the time, for starters. We won't all be checking our phones, and, you know, we'll all be at the match home and away, and that will change it as well. I think a lot of it's been down to that in the situation we found ourselves in. But let's accentuate the positives. You know, the NUFC, you know, gang as it is today, we all came together just because of the show. You know what I mean? Something that I'd just said 12 months ago. Let's give that a blast, and you know, it's worked out. And thanks to all of you, you know, you guys and girls who've given up your time over the last 12 months, it's been a big success. And you know, we're about 180 away from hitting 40,000 subscribers this week, and that's mental. You know what I mean? That's 40,000 people who love watching what we do, and the amount of messages I get week in, week out from people saying, please try and keep it going when you come out of lockdown. You know, this has got us through lockdown, but I really enjoyed the show as well. Yeah, we will. Might not be able to do 7 shows a week, but you know, as long as we can, we will. And don't forget, you've got Loaded TV, Martin, Chris, you know, Daz doing some great work on there, and the panel off here, you know, people are all going on as different guests. Spenny's had the most views. He's been on recently. I know he's gone now, but he'll be over the moon when he hears that. But yeah, it's connected us with you as well, Al Walid. So, you know, there's lots of positives. There's more positives than negatives. And I was trying to give Mark Byers a bit of a G up, because he's been really down this week after being attacked, you know, for the last few days by the same old faces. And you know, people like Mark, I've not met him, you know, face to face for a very long time. He lives abroad now, but you know, everybody at some point needs somebody to talk to, and you know, those people need to be supported. And just, if I can give anyone a tip, either keep off social media altogether if it affects you like that, or just block these people. And like Spenny said before he had to go, ultimately, you know, if you block people and quiet them down off your timeline, things do get a lot better. But listen, I've gone on enough. I know most of you either want to go and get a drink or go and get your Sunday dinner. I just want to say, Al Walid, well done, mate. Absolute pleasure to have you from Saudi Arabia present the show. I think you did a fantastic job. I don't think we need to ask anybody about man of the match, because I think everybody on the panel would agree you were man of the match today. You know, you've embraced Newcastle's culture, you've embraced the fans, you've embraced the football club. You deserve a round of applause for that. Well done, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thanks
for the support. Appreciate it.
Thanks for doing it. Big shout out to Spider VPN for all your internet security. They've been sponsoring us for the last 3 months, and they have just signed up to sponsor us again next month. So thank you to Spider VPN. Great to have them on board. Big shout out to Arcot Interiors. And that's ideal if you want a new kitchen. Could be the perfect time to do it. Spend some of that money you've saved during lockdown. Get on to www.arcotinteriors.com. Email them at enquiries@arcot.org.uk, or 0191 2658 663 is the number to call them on. Also, qtechshop.co.uk. Big shout out to them, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wales and Newcastle. Also, the makers of our wonderful cult t-shirts, which have done a roaring trade the last few days. NUFCmatters.com. You can buy them on there. Big shout out to John from Jab Signature, who makes all of our flyers. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right hand corner. Hit the thumbs up to like the video. Hit share to share it to your social media. But don't do it this weekend if you're on the social media ban. It'll get you into bother, and people will probably have a pop at you for that. And that's it. I am back tomorrow night with Ladies' Night. Me, Lee, and Holly. Alicia's working again, sadly. So the 3 of us will be on for Ladies' Night at the same time, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. I am going to come back on tonight at 6:30 and do an interview with Stuart Armstrong, good friend of mine. Stuart Armstrong, he is somebody who worked the doors for many years in the Northeast. Some of you will recognise him. Went on to write a couple of books about doing the door, and he's gone into the bare knuckle boxing promoting game. But one of the first people to promote bare knuckle boxing in the Northeast. Good friend of mine. He's coming on for an hour's chat, and there's plenty of videos being uploaded in the last few past few days, I've managed to get a few true crime ones in. This one was a great one with Joey Barnett. That's him on the right. He's got a fantastic tale of how he turned his life around. So well worth looking for that, the Joey Barnett interview. But that's all for today, folks. Thank you to Chris, to Kieran, to Paul, to Al-Walid, to Martin, to Charlie, to Chris, to Holly, and to Spenny, who had to go early. Have a great Sunday afternoon. It didn't turn out our way this way, but no harm done with Fulham getting beat. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Head back with the critics' attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn.